events surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. That would probably be Glenn Clark if that's the case, and that means that he's probably Griffin. That's what to do on a Monday edition of the program. Coming up, we're going to catch up with our buddy Ryan Ripken Show, 105.7 The Fan. Get his thoughts on a sluggish Orioles team. And it can't easily be explained. It's not just the pitching, but then the offense was good. Yet we'll talk about all of it. We're going to talk. You're not going to believe I'm about to say these words. We're going to talk about the Masters.
What?
I'm going to do it.
I watched about 30 seconds of it. I watched the final 30 seconds of
Typically, that's the amount of time that I spend watching the Masters. But I will tell you.
And I did not love Justin Rose's black belt on black pants with white shoes. That was,
you have a lot of thoughts about that?
Yeah. I mean, I was already rooting for Rory, and then when
he
I
was
saw
wearing
that,
pink, right? Wasn't that what he was
like
wearing?
his pink shirt, or salmon shirt, something like that. Yeah, I mean, that was fine, but the pants I didn't love.
I had a lot of thoughts about that. I don't think we'll.
Yeah, no wonder he missed.
I don't think we'll spend a lot of time on that, but I'm not going to say none.
That was my major takeaway.
Right, that was
from the
your
time
big.
I spent with
thank you.
The golf this weekend.
Our friend Kevin Van Valkenburg, the man behind Once Upon a Time Hug It Out Radio, is going to join us, and he was down there, and I did watch more than I expected to yesterday because of the Rory McIlroy thing. That was compelling theater, and we will talk to him about that and what he experienced being down at Augusta. And also, we will catch up with Rayuan Lane. Rayuan Lane is a former Navy safety, and Gilman before that, and he's going to hear his name called during the NFL draft. And so he'll tell us all about his preparation for the draft and what it means to him. Plus, it's a Monday, so Jeremy Conn will join us. We'll go 3 up and 3 down. Lots to do on a Monday edition of the program. Unfortunately, just one man of the match from the weekend. Of course, there were only 2 games, but Cedric Mullins, by virtue of coming through with the biggest hit of the day. Do you have the orange marker over there to do the star? Here.
I would just be using a regular pen.
Well, no, you were using him for the star, because he's the second time. So we need to put 2 stars on his sheet. Cedric Mullins, of course, comes through with the big. I thought it was a triple. Apparently, they ruled it a double and an error.
Really?
Yeah. Shameful. I agree. But Cedric Mullins comes through in a tie game on Saturday with the big hit. This after he was the first Oriole to reach base when it looked like there was a non-zero chance that Bowden Francis was going to throw a perfect game. Like non-zero. No, you see, when we do 2, we put 2 stars.
Oh.
He's a second-time man of the match. I get it. It's weird because we don't put a star on for everybody that's a one-timer, but that's because it's a whole thing. I don't know why we do it that way. There's no explanation for it, frankly. It's just what we do. So Bowden Francis looked like there was a genuine possibility that he could throw a perfect game on Saturday. And Cedric Mullins got a walk, and that, frankly, was what got the Orioles going, is then Heston Kjerstad hit the 2-run homer. Adley Rutschman ties it up, and then Cedric Mullins comes through with the biggest hit as he delivers the go-ahead 2-run double. And that's the reason why he gets man of the match for Saturday. Now, admittedly, yesterday, I'm thinking to myself, man, who's going to be man of the match today? Orioles are up 6-3, and
Robinson Chirinos, maybe.
I guess. Brandon
Until he
Hyde
wasn't.
for getting
Until he wasn't.
tossed, right? For coming out and supporting his guys. Cade Povich wasn't good, but, he did throw 4 2/3 innings. I guess he would have made sense. Brian Baker only threw 5 pitches, so it makes it tough to choose him. And I was really struggling with who man of the match. I guess Gunnar Henderson because he had 3 hits, but whatever. Who cares? It's not worth fighting about who man of the match is. The Orioles just needed to win this series, finally win a series, finally win back-to-back games this season, start to make it look like they've turned the corner. That was the good news about I guess we'll play the waiting game for all of that. I guess we'll just hope that that's going to come at some point in the future. I don't think the Orioles are going to go the whole season without winning a series. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I don't know that either. I can't say that with certainty. I did the bat around with Paul yesterday, and Paul was hot and bothered about the Orioles pulling, and I say the Orioles because normally we'd scream about Brandon Hyde, but it wasn't him. The Orioles pulling Cade Povich when they did, and he tweeted about that, and I said, I gotta disagree with you, man. Like, I get that we are grading Cade Povich on a curve, and understandably so. This is he's not he's not even supposed to be here today. He's not supposed to be in the rotation right now. The time has come and gone, Griffin.
Just wait.
No. This is not the point of this is we're still not there.
Please refresh the page to
There
hear
you
the
go.
There
sound.
it is.
That's what you wanted, right?
That's exactly what I wanted. What do we do here? I get it. We're not really judging Cade Povich the same way that we're judging everybody else.
We're not judging who?
No, we're past it. We're past it. The moment is come and gone. It's okay though.
Just be careful. Next time you say his name.
Sure, you got it. We're not judging him the same way that we're judging everybody else. So we don't talk about it the same way that we talk about Dean Kramer and Charlie Morton and other guys that might struggle. There's kind of like a kid gloves thing for Cade Povich. Like, well, but God bless him, he's trying. And I see signs in Cade Povich that he might figure out how to become a major league pitcher. Like, I do, the same way that the rest of you do. But in judging him on the curve, and I know that my guy Steve Johnson will tell me this is pitching, right? Like, that figuring out a way to not get your ass kicked and keep your team in a game even when you're not great. Like, that's pitching. And all of those things are true. But it doesn't mean that I turn around and say, and yesterday was a good day. It wasn't. It was not. He put 8 guys on in 4 2/3 innings. There were runners on second and third in a close game. I wholly and completely understand why you go to the bullpen there. Because there's a possibility that's the moment. And because given that you hadn't played on Thursday or Friday and that you weren't playing today, the only person that shouldn't have been available was Felix Bautista because we've arbitrarily said he can't go back-to-back. I don't really know how long that's going to go for, right? Like, I don't know what the thought process is going to be there, but I think most of us are on board with it trying to get Felix Bautista back. And, like, particularly after finally seeing, like, a positive sign from Felix Bautista on Saturday. So the rest of the bullpen's available to you. You want to argue about whether Brian Baker should have gone back out to start the 6th inning? It's a conversation I could have. But pulling Cade Povich when they did, there was no overtaxing the bullpen on the whole is a concern that I have. But uniquely, with no game Thursday, no game Friday, and no game Monday, it was not a unique concern that I had yesterday. The bullpen just has to do its job. Don't blow a 3-run lead. I also can't absolve the fact that the Orioles still had chances to win. Like, this is the problem. I can't really criticize the offense yesterday. The offense scored 6 runs, right? Like, we do this all the time in football games, right? Like, you're really going to beat up the offense? The offense put up 28 points. What do you want from them? It's still a team game, and the offense on this team is going to have to shoulder more of the load than the pitching staff. I think we all knew that coming into the season, right? Like, our concerns about the pitching were significant, but we said, hey, this team might score enough runs for it to not matter. And to have runners in scoring position in both the 9th and 10th innings and come away with nothing, they deserve criticism for that. Period. There's kind of no way around it. Tyler O'Neill can't strike out there. But that's kind of who Tyler O'Neill is, right? You went out and got him. You knew what you were getting. He'll hit some home runs. He'll strike out a bunch. He's an outcome guy. He cannot strike out with a runner on second base and one out. Or sorry, third base.
Yeah.
Sorry. And one out in the 10th inning. Cannot happen. And yes, obviously it's worse because Ramon Laureano is up behind him, but to be fair, it was understandable to put, like, it looked like Ramon Laureano's presence might be the difference in how they could survive the top of the 10th inning, because that flare single to left field that probably scores if anybody else is out there. Instead, he's out there. Unfortunately,
they ended up scoring anyway, but yeah.
On the softest contact you'll ever see in your life. That's genuinely bad luck, the way that it worked out, but it could have worked out differently because Laureano was out there. But with Laureano due up next, it absolutely had to be. Tyler O'Neill is getting paid to a level that he cannot strike out there. Can't. It can't happen. So no, I'm encouraged by the fact the offense came to life. They came to life aided, yes, by the Blue Jays defense, right? Vladimir Guerrero not being able to play a ball at first base. Anthony Santander probably should have caught the Gunnar Henderson. Did they rule it a triple or did they rule? I don't even know what they ruled it. I think they ruled it a hit.
2 errors.
I
What
don't
was
know.
the other one? I'm trying to think because the Vladdy one was there, and then
Like, he should have caught that, probably. So I get that the offense was aided by the Blue Jays' defensive woes. But they still produced. It's just that the thing that we saw on Saturday that was so encouraging was like, hey, we faced some adversity and we didn't just roll over and say the game was over, which I think is the thing that's been most alarming to all of us since the midway part of last season.
they call it a triple.
They called it a triple.
Yes.
And it has to be because he didn't touch the ball. I don't know why I'm asking that question. He didn't touch the ball. It had to be ruled a triple. But, I mean, that ball was pretty
It's
bad.
certainly playable, yeah.
Yes. All that said, what was encouraging about Saturday was they were not only were they losing, they were lifeless. And yet the thing that we grew to love about the 2022-2023 Orioles, but it ain't over.
Never say die,
That we saw that again on Saturday. I was fired up, right? Like our buddy, my buddy Matt Luderman saw me at the gym yesterday, and he's been down. Like, oh God, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know, man. That felt like the moment that you were waiting for this team, a game where they just weren't in it, where they were lifeless, but they didn't give up. They scratched, they clawed, they fought their way back, and they won a game they had no business winning, and maybe that's the moment. And maybe that's what turns things. And they scored 6 runs, and they had a lead, and you were like, man, the vibes are good. But then, again, when they faced adversity and gave up 3 runs, the game wasn't over. When Jackson Holliday... we all heard the same sound off of his bat in the 8th inning, and we all thought the same thing. Kevin Brown sure as hell did. But they needed someone to come up with a big hit with a runner in scoring position, and they had multiple opportunities. Hell, they didn't even need O'Neal to come up with a hit. They just needed him to
Ground out.
hit a fly ball.
I guess Andres Jimenez would have tried to throw home, but
Yeah, might have. It's part of the when I say the defense was conspiring. They just needed to get the job done and didn't. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's been so frustrating about this team is adversity seems to be their enemy. Like and I get it, adversity is everyone's enemy. Nobody enjoys adversity, but man, I don't know what happened. Is it really like the presence of no Adam Frazier or Rougned Odor is this impactful for a baseball team?
I bet they're available. We could.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't even possibly tell. I think I saw Odor is. I don't know if Adam Frazier got a job somewhere. Like, is that what it requires? I don't want to be too down. I don't want to do that because there's still way too much of the season ahead of you, and there's so many chapters that can be written, and to try to pretend like this is the story of the Orioles is wildly unfair. But man, just when it seemed like there was a chance to seize a moment and show like, no, we're alive. We're here. We're ready for the season to start. Let's go. And to get kicked in the teeth like that, man, it just sucks. My column today at PressBoxOnline.com is really going to be about a little bit about where the Orioles are, but in the context of all of the Corbin Burnes hullabaloo from last week. And just about how confusing it all is, big picture. Like, this is chatting with Paul yesterday, doing the bat around. Like, I just had this moment where it hit me, and I'm like, I don't know what the Orioles are. I got so excited just about baseball being back that I kind of put everything else to the side, and I genuinely have no idea what the plan is. What are they doing here? Who's a part of this thing? They're certainly showing no signs of trying to capitalize on the young core, right? Like, there's nothing that would suggest that they're...
Well, he signed Charlie Morton.
Thank you. There is nothing that would suggest that they're trying to prioritize winning a World Series with this young core at all. There's zero evidence of that, which is what we think they should be doing. What are they doing? What is the plan here? And does it matter that they offered the highest AAV contract in history for a pitcher for Corbin Burnes? Does that matter? I don't know. I have no clue. Because it's so weird and incongruent that it was either Corbin Burnes takes this offer or nothing. Like, what? I've never struggled before in this process with I was always so confident in what the plan was. Whether it worked or not, I didn't know. But then we saw it come to fruition, right? Where the young talent got here and they were capitalizing on it. But it was also a lot of the holdovers that were still helping in that process. As things started to turn, the Austin Hayes of the world, the Felix Bautistas, the Grayson Rodriguez's, the guys that were inherited, Anthony Santander, Cedric Mullins, were such a big part of it. But you understood, like, that guard's probably going to come and go, and it's the next group, and that's the group that you're building around, but there's no building. I want it to matter that they offered that much money to Corbin Burnes, but I can't hide from hearing his voice. Well, they didn't put it in writing. Like, did they know that he probably wasn't going to take it? I can't make sense. How do you make sense of we'll pay an unprecedented amount of money per year for Corbin Burnes, but it's either that or we sign guys that may or may not be Major League Baseball players? How do you wrap your head around that? I can't do it. I can't make sense of it. I can't pretend to. And it's the first time that I've ever, in this process, really had questions about what is going on here. And yeah, I get it. Some of you are going to say, late to the party, huh? Fine. I'll live with that. But what is happening? I thought at the beginning of the season about writing something about everybody, you got to move on from Cedric Mullins at the end of the year. Why? Why do you have to do that? What is the plan? When is the now? Well, you got to move on from him because you got Enrique Bradfield coming. Okay. He's sure as hell fast. There's no doubt about that. Do we know that Enrique Bradfield is better than Cedric Mullins? How do we know that? What tells us that?
Because he was drafted in the first round.
Okay. Now give me something else.
Yeah.
Am I taking crazy pills? Does it feel like right now, perhaps, I joked about the Odor Frazier thing, but like this team could use someone who's identified as like the guy. And I'm not, Cedric Mullins' personality is never going to be the type where he's going to be the demonstrative leader. He's just not, that's not who he is. But it feels like it'd be nice to know that someone's going to be around besides the young guys, like who were at least going to be arbitration eligible. But I'm just so bloody confused. And it all kind of hit me last week with the Burns thing, because the Burns thing makes no sense. I can't. I can't make sense of how you went from, if you really believed that there was a chance that you could get Corbin Burns for that number, and that's the part that I don't know. I don't, as I've said before, I don't think it was a Teixeira thing where like we didn't put it in writing because there's no chance. We will not sign him for that number. I think the Orioles would have liked Corbin Burns, and I've talked to a couple people that I think they wanted Corbin Burns to want to sign for that number. But did they know he wasn't? Because if you wanted Corbin Burns, how is this the alternative? I'm writing about it at PressBoxOnline.com. I'm just confused. And the Orioles start has certainly left me in an equally confused place. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know how to fix it. Like the only fix is the bats have to get more consistent. They desperately need Jackson Holliday to be the guy, and I don't want to overreact. I don't want to be like there was some Twitter clown yesterday that got everybody worked up by being like, well, Jackson Holliday's a miss. Like, I don't want to be that guy. Like, we all can recognize that you can't put a definitive answer on someone at 21, but part of Jackson Holliday was supposed to be ready at 21. Like, that was what made him different than everybody else. It's not great. I think he looks better defensively. I think he looks more comfortable at second base. Like, that flip play was really good.
Yeah.
But
I mean, does that bat look competitive? Like it's
yeah. I mean, he certainly doesn't look like he doesn't belong, or
it
that
doesn't look
he's,
like April of last year, obviously.
Yeah, but he still went over 17 last week.
I know.
He's gonna come up in conversation a little bit. He didn't reach base.
Well, he got reached on an error
in 5 games. That's not great. But they need that for sure, and then they need Grayson and Eflin to both come back relatively soon. And like the roadmap is there to like being better for sure, but it requires a lot of things. I don't want to panic. I know Ryan Ripken's going to say, what does he say? The O's are fine. And to some extent, just based on how early on in the season it is, he'll be right. Like, No matter what the number is, we can do this forever. Every team is going to have a stretch of baseball like this. All of the teams are. The Dodgers lost 1,000-0 the other day. They gave up like 14 runs between the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. It's wild. This is going to happen, even to the best teams. The question is, what evidence do we have that they are one of the best teams, or that they can be one of the best teams? And I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm struggling. And it's the type of thing that, like, I feel like only the vibes of winning can change it. They win 5 of their next 6 games. Somehow, some
I'd
way.
like that.
Yeah, then we're not going to feel like this, right? Like, these feelings go away if they can just go on some sort of tear. I don't know how they're going to do that. They don't have any pitching. Like, even...
I mean, yeah, it feels like it's going to take 9 runs a game. Like, that's...
Yeah. Or dramatically, somehow...
Povich or Kramer figures it out. Yeah, like...
I got more faith in it being like Sagano figuring it out than I do in Kramer.
Has he gone 5 innings yet?
I don't know. Yeah, he did. Man. It's tough. It's tough sledding at the moment. We'll let Ryan Ripken explain to us that it's okay. We'll let him do that.
Yes.
Support the Brigance Brigade. Ugh. Let me say that. It doesn't sound right in my head when I say it.
It sounded fine.
Support the Brigance Brigade with their annual 5.7K race and 1.57-mile fun walk, Saturday, April 26th. The day will be full of racing, walking, and family fun, starting at the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore, and it all supports the fight against ALS. On top of the race and walk, there will be a kids' fun run, sack races, a freeze dance competition, moon bounce, face painting, and cupcake bar, plus free zoo admission included with registration. Brunch from Jimmy's Famous Seafood can be added to your registration for $15, or you can add it day of. So race, play, and make lasting memories together, all while supporting the Brigance Brigade. Register now at brigancebrigade.org.
He went 5 1/3 against Kansas City. Yeah.
All right, Ryan Ripken next. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious spilling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Orioles are off tonight before they do the Ohio thing over the course of the next week. Is they'll play 3 against the Guardians, then 3 against the Reds at home, and needing to come alive at some point, but not necessarily having the pitching to do it. The one thing about the rain out on Friday is it seems like it's kind of made it clear that the plan for a pitcher on Saturday will be Brandon Young. They moved Brandon Young from Friday to Sunday this weekend down in Norfolk, so Brandon Young would be lined up and available and ready to go for Saturday. So that looks like at least for the now. Now, what that means for Kyle Gibson and when he would be available and all of that, like I guess we still have to have that conversation. But that's when they'll need a starter is Saturday, and even in the best case scenario for Zach Eflin, it won't be him there. That's the reality. All right. Of course, you know this man, host of the Ryan Ripken Show. You hear him on Baltimore. We lost him. Why wouldn't we? Just in that moment. It sounded like it was going so well over there, too. It sounded like, see, this is normally why we call during breaks, is to try to knock all this out. And, hey, telling you, one day.
It's more fun this way.
No, it's not.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm very sure of that. Soon, we're working on a Titan version. We're tightening things up around here. We're going to clean up the mess. We're going to not have 5-year-old bottles of ibuprofen lying around. We're gonna do lots of things. Old cans of beer. We're gonna tighten things up at some point. Just don't know exactly when yet, but we're working on that plan. All right, this man is the host of the Ryan Ripken Show. You also hear him on Baltimore Baseball Tonight over on 105.7 The Fan. He is our friend Ryan Ripken, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, happy Monday, Glenn. How we feeling?
I don't know, Ryan. I know you're gonna tell me. I know you're gonna say the thing. And I know you're right, and I understand that. And it's very early in the season. All of that's true. But I can't shake how weird everything is either, right? Like, I can't ignore the realities of a pitching staff that until these guys come back, it is just hard-pressed for me to see it getting better. I know this is not the end of the world, and it's not apocalyptic, but I have real concerns at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, look, I completely understand. And to be honest, though, the reason why everyone has these feelings and thoughts is because of how the season ended last year, but not just how the season ended last year, was that it still goes back to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
If the Orioles had that stretch, in the second half, but then they win that series against Kansas City, we're not having this type of stress. Why? Because they did it in the postseason. But yeah, it is early. But some signs that they're going to have to improve on right now is a combination of going deeper into the game, and part of that is pitchers working through. And also, I will say on another note, I think at times they could get pushed to throw deeper into the game. Like with Cade Povich and Sagano. It works in the moment, right? I'm not saying that the move didn't work, right? Because they got the outs, Baker and Keegan Aiken in the back-to-back games. But early on, you want to try to stretch your guys out so your bullpen feels better later on. That's just one thing. But then two, can you consistently find ways to put away games, right? They had a great comeback on Saturday, and they let one slip away on Sunday, right? So the key word here is consistency. Can you put together a complete game, put together a winning series? And I think that's the part right now that hasn't happened. That's the only reason why they've won 6 games. But the bright light is that you look around the American League, Glenn, no team has won 10 games.
That's true.
In the American League, the top team is what, the Yankees and the Blue Jays, and that's a 9-win team. So there's always perspective there, but definitely I understand why fans still have that feeling because of how last year ended.
Ryan, it's funny you bring that up, that perhaps, like these guys could go longer. And our friend Paul Valley and I got into a back and forth about this yesterday. Uniquely this weekend, because you hadn't played on Thursday and Friday and you don't have a game today, like I couldn't really second-guess any of those moves, right? Like, your bullpen's fresh, you've got them. Uniquely this weekend, I can see it. The bigger issue I have is I want to grade Cade Povich on a curve. I want to say I've seen encouraging signs. But I'd have to ignore how many guys he's putting on base in order to do that. And I know that's part of pitching, is limiting the damage and giving your team a chance, and he does deserve credit for that because he has limited damage and given the team a chance. But the idea that if you did it for another inning, that like it feels like at the moment it's almost as much kind of good fortune as it is anything else, because it's hard for me to believe that you keep playing with fire, you're never going to get burned.
Yeah, I'll say with Cade, I love the fact that he's limiting the walks. Like that was yesterday, right? He limited the walks. And I can live with, hey, you know what? They earned their hits today. Bravo to them, especially for a young pitcher. Because the one thing with everyone else is you get older or you understand yourself, you putting a guy on, but knowing how to get out of it, that's no problem. But when you're younger, it's like, all right, I want to see, is it that I need to make better pitches, which obviously every pitcher needs to make better pitches, or, man, am I putting myself in such a big hole while I'm still learning how to make better pitches at the big league level consistently? That's where it gets dicey. So for Cade, and here's the other part, and this is why I was saying about going deeper into the game, and you're right, this isn't me second-guessing or anything because of the days off that the bullpen had. Now, I will say, when you know some guys might not be available the next day, that can change your output, like a.k.a. Felix Bautista, rightfully was going to be down. But think about this. Cade Povich finishes that fifth inning. Now he's sitting there at 5 innings. What, the line was it 2 earned runs?
Well, it would have been 1 still at that point, right? Was it 2?
I thought
it might be
2, but
2.
You know what I mean? 4 2/3, you sit there and it makes you go, you didn't get to that point, that minimum threshold that makes it feel good. One number on that makes everything look different. So I think there's a lot of things to be encouraged about with Cade. The bigger thing for me is continue to limit the walks and then continue to understand as you go on and pitch, just to continue to make, better pitch selections, land those pitches, because Cade's stuff's really good. He's really, really good. Now it's just about, can I take it to the next level? And I think it is really close, Glenn, but I can see why you're sitting there going, I don't know how to grade. It's just because the outing's not going maybe that extra third or extra inning that would maybe make you feel slightly different.
Ryan Ripken with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Ryan, I'm trying to be pleasantly encouraged by Cade Povich, even by Sagano a little bit. I don't know how to react to the other two, and I hate doing this because I really like Dean Kramer, but it's just not good. And the Charlie Morton thing, I know he struck out 10 guys, and you hope that was maybe a sign of something, but I don't know. He's getting hit hard a lot, man. It's really hard for me to buy that there's a whole lot there at this point.
That's why glass half full, glass half empty approach here, right? Look, historically for Dean, start with him, he always seems to get off to slower starts. And his biggest thing is he can pitch against any lineup, but also if he doesn't execute his pitches, because if he doesn't execute his pitches, he can get hit around. That's just the reality of it. And for Dean, though, it's more so of putting guys away, and being able to, in his case, he has such great let me back this up. Dean has really good stuff, but Dean isn't as overpowering as some other pitchers that have that threshold, right? We have the guys that can just, hey, spot up and throw it over the plate. You throw 97 plus, that's going to be really hard. Plus you got a really devastating off-speed pitch or whatever it may be, right? Dean has to be a little bit more calculated. And right now he hasn't been calculated enough. They're seeing him well and they're getting hits. Not a ton of walks for Dean, but he's not executing his pitches. Now for Charlie Morton, you might not like it. It was his best start of the year. I'm not saying it was a great start. It was his best start of the year. But one thing I did notice with him when I was going back, and this is where I like to kind of tell the tale of numbers, and he's a guy that loves to live off of throwing his curveball. He has a pretty good changeup, and he hasn't been able to really land those or have those that whiff percentage of guys swinging and missing isn't as high as it was last year to start. So for me, I'm looking at that and going, well, still got 10 Ks. He's still trying to find it, but his pitches that he needs to rely on to help him get outs hasn't been consistent. And that's ultimately, for me, while I'm looking at it going, okay, that's why the walks are high. And then you have to give into a hitter and maybe get favorable counts and opportunities that put you in a hole. So for Charlie, I'm going to give him a little bit of grace because I do think if that can get somewhat solved, we're going to see him continue to progress. And this is why it's still so early, right? That was his third start of the year, if I'm doing my math correct, third start of the year. If now, Glenn, I will say this. We get into May and the trend is still the same, then we can talk about going, okay, well, now we really need to start thinking of this. But, not everyone's going to get out of the gate. You just got to hope that this progression at Charlie's last start can progress. And same with Dean, that they can get better here as we get further and further into the next month and the next month.
Ryan, I feel like what you just said, a lot of people are asking these questions like, hey, given that since June 20th of last year, they've been 7 games under 500 on the whole, like when do you start judging anything big picture wise? And I said that within any individual season, you don't really judge anything about a team until Memorial Day at the earliest, right? Like that's when it becomes a sample size. But I'm still, how much of that is mitigated by the pitching injuries specifically? Like when do they need to have Eflin and Rodriguez both back together for a month? When is it time? When can you first pass off like any sort of bigger judgment about this team specifically?
Yeah, and the argument for 24, the end of 2024 to 2025, to me, I know that there's worries and you feel like there's similar themes, which again, completely understand, but it's not also fair to judge last year's team to this year's team because they are at a different place. Jackson Holliday is now in the big leagues playing every day. Adley Rutschman looks like he's back to being the Adley Rutschman he was the first half of last year, not the second half. Guys dealt with adversity, and now they're dealing with more adversity on the pitching side, and we're only, 15 games in now. So you're right. For me, I like to get to June. I like to get to June and sit there and go, all right, what is extremely glaring? Because from the get-go, and you can even look at last year's teams, and I could go through a few examples right now. The Houston Astros looked like their reign was ending in the AL West last year. They were not good.
Yep.
Really, really struggling. And then June rolled around, and then they got hot. Then they started clicking. Then they obviously got into the playoffs. Look at last year's playoff field as well. The Tigers, that was supposed to be the up-and-coming team. It never came together until really the trade deadline. Then they sold, and they got hot, and they went on a little bit of a run. The Nationals back in 2019 when they won the World Series, 19-31 to start the season. The New York Mets last year going to the NLCS, treading water in June. Treading water, trying to get to 500, and then they got hot, got to the NLCS, lost to the eventual champs in the Dodgers. So everyone, I guess, for me, has a different path. All you can hope is get your team to June, stay in the hunt, and then we can sit there and go, all right, are the 2025 Orioles problems, could there be themes from 2024? Absolutely. But we're going to really have a good idea on what they're going to need, what they're going to have to focus on in June. And quite frankly, if it's not going well by then you're going to have your other answer as well. Then you're going to go, well, they didn't give themselves the opportunity because of X, Y, and Z, right? So I'm just hoping for Baltimore and all the fans, stay in the hunt, figure things out, and then you can assess and hopefully make a great second half run in 25.
Are you as perplexed by the inconsistency of the offense as everyone else is?
I would no, because I think it's hard when your best player has to have his spring training in the big leagues with Gunnar Henderson. That's a huge part of that lineup, and finally looks like he's coming out of it. And then you have a guy like Heston that's starting, I think, to get in a groove. Everybody, the goal is when you go to spring training, right? Your goal is you want to try to hit the ground running to start the season as hot as you can. The reality is it doesn't happen. Some guys get off to that smoking hot start. Other ones are still trying to find it. And then maybe you press and maybe you're stressed. And also losing Colton Cowser wasn't an easy thing for this lineup as well. A guy that was obviously going to be a big part of it. I think one thing I want to just continue to see is, okay, as you get going, if a couple guys are off in a night, can you find a way to execute and get things done? That was the biggest thing from last year for the Orioles. If we're going to carry one thing over, the biggest thing is when you're having a tough matchup, something's going wrong, can you find a way to scratch and claw? And we saw that on Saturday. They were getting no hit, perfect game. I was yelling out loud, it's a tough time to lose a perfect game right now, right? Just joking. Bowden was dealing. And then a little signs of life. Took a walk from Cedric, Heston goes big, and then there's life in there. Sometimes, though, you're not going to have that spark. You're going to have to find it some way, though. And I think that is the one key I'd like to see for the Orioles, manufacturing runs. Who did a great job of finding a way last year, Glenn? They're coming to Baltimore here on Tuesday. The Guardians. You can, and if anyone wants an example of I'm talking about finding a way, Stephen Conn on the Guardians might be the best example of that. I saw him lay down a squeeze to get the run in from third base, but he's also a guy that can hit for contact, has showed more power. They just do anything necessary. I'd like to see the Orioles continue to develop that because the Guardians do that extremely well. And that's a reason why they've had the success that they've had over the last year plus.
Let me wrap with this, Ryan. I feel like a lot like last year where everybody just assumed it was Anthony Santander's final year in Baltimore. There's a similar assumption surrounding Cedric Mullins this year. And Cedric Mullins obviously has been off to a great start to the season. I can't hide from it. I'm biased. I love Cedric Mullins. He's one of my favorite people, and my kids one of their favorite baseball players, and that impacts me a little bit. But I'm going to ask the same question I found myself asking last year, which is why? Why are we just assuming? Like, why is that the thought process for a team that you just have to move on to the next guys, or you couldn't pay these guys real money? I'm so perplexed by the notion that, like, particularly for guys that we're not talking about $300 million. I'm perplexed by the idea that these guys couldn't continue to be centerpieces for another 3 to 4 years. Yeah, do I think Santander got a little bit more money than his value? Probably. But do I think that you can do that? Yeah, I think you can do that in baseball. Like, I'm just confused by the notion that you have to move on from these guys and go to younger players, and that you can't ever just say, no, these are our guys. It's okay if we pay them $12 million, whatever that number might be.
Yeah, and this past offseason was the first time we actually had to experience what that is. And then now again, because of what just happened, you go, oh, wait, we're just going to let people walk. Last year, Corbin, let's be honest, there's really just one guy. Santander wanted the opportunity, but he got more than probably teams expected, but he earned that big payday. Corbin, self-explanatory, like we talked about. Yeah. He wanted to go home. It reached that value. I had him on my show last week, and he even said once the Diamondbacks hit that number, not that he put other teams to the back burner, but it's focus. You got to choose what you want. So the player has the choice first and foremost. But a guy like Cedric Mullins, when I keep saying it over social media, he is a dang good player. And people can go, wait a minute, well, he gets streaky. All baseball players are streaky. But you know what I want? I want a gamer. I want a guy that I'm not going to worry about on or off the field. I want a guy that even if he's struggling at the plate, he's going to give me everything in center field. And you know when he's out in center field and when he's not. That's an impact. You know what he can do on the base paths. And also he's developed himself as such a beloved player on this team. So I would love that. It would, for personally, because I know Seti, and I don't want to get too down that road, but I am hopeful that because now that the Orioles are in these positions, that some of these veteran guys, if they want to be here, I think that we're going to hopefully see more of those opportunities, like a guy like Cedric Mullins. And again, it just takes one move, one of your guys to re-sign for everyone to feel a little bit more relief in Baltimore and be excited about what you could be building for the future.
What am I plugging for you, Ryan?
Ryan Ripken Show. We're live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We might have we always seem to have some people joining us, and same thing will be then. And then, other times I'm bothering you on your show, Glenn.
I always appreciate you, brother. Thank you for doing this. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
All right, sounds good. Have a great Monday. See ya.
Ryan Ripken with us here on GCR. All right, it's Monday, and on Mondays we try to recap the week that was in Orioles baseball. Let's do this.
Three up.
And 3 down.
3 Up and 3 Down is brought to you today by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website. Find out everything you need to know about high school sports. Spalding got a huge win over McDonough on Friday night. McDonough's first conference loss of the season. Everything about boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, baseball, softball, all the spring sports, how the coach is ruining Calvert Hall golf, all of it. You can find it at CountySports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local
story
Toyota
that's out
dealer,
there on
CountySports.com. We do negative first, right? Or do we? What remind me?
I don't know.
Do we tear down to build up, or do we build up to tear down?
I would think we should.
Or do we do the positive for? Does it matter? Should it matter based on what the record was for the week? We got to We got to figure this out. Solve this problem.
I don't know. Well,
let's base it based on what the record was for the week.
I don't know why I can't remember what we did the first couple times.
If they go like 4-2, we should do up first. This week they went 2-3, so we do down first. Okay. That's what I think.
Okay.
3 down. Number 3, Charlie Morton. God love Ryan Ripken for trying to spin it to a positive and say it was his best start. And I don't know, maybe, but he put 9 guys on over 5 innings and gave up 4 earned runs. Like, I'm just not seeing anything that says to me anything other than, look, again, baseball's funny like that. A month from now, maybe Charlie Morton's a functional starter that's helpful, and the Orioles have some pieces back, and we don't notice it quite as much. But at the moment, Charlie Morton looks like a guy that just might not. He might be coming to the end, and so I can't hide from it. Charlie Morton's my number 3.
Yeah, he's gonna be a little higher on mine. I got put Team Kramer at 3.
He's my number 2
because I don't know, he wasn't good.
Nope,
he
wasn't good.
He was not good, and I know you hate Dean Kramer.
I
but,
certainly don't. I really like Dean Kramer.
I have more faith in him to turn it around at some point, but he was awful.
That's where we separate.
He was not good this week, so he's on the list.
I have faith that he's gonna have 6 to 7 starts this year that you're gonna be like, damn, that's the guy. But that's what he's going to do, and that outside of those 6 to 7 starts, we're going to say to ourselves, because that's kind of who Dean Kramer, and I hate it. I wish I expected more from Dean Kramer because I really do like Dean Kramer, but there's just too much of a track record. Yeah, Dean Kramer's my number 2. I mean, he was awful. There's no way around it. You could say we keep trying to talk about the bad luck of Dean Kramer, like, fine, but everybody deals with that.
So Dean 3. I put Jackson at number 2.
Yeah,
frankly, it didn't occur to me until later in the week that maybe it's because I had 2 back-to-back off days.
Yeah, I think that had something to do with it.
But I did not realize until like Sunday. I was like, oh my God, he's over this week.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He's still. I feel like
and not just
still
over.
feel like he's putting.
Didn't get a walk. Didn't get it.
No, but he's still
nothing good.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't good. Oh, you can't go for 17. You can't go for 17.
He's number one. I mean, like I'm not trying
Charlie
to say
Morton's my number one. I mean, because he's the guy that's getting paid. Like, I mean,
I have way more expectation for Jackson Holliday than I do Charlie Morton. Like
maybe you. I mean, yeah, maybe. But
I have to. I have to.
Morton looks. The game is lost when Morton is on the mound.
Don't inherently disagree.
He's number one. Morton is number one. He might be number one every week for me.
Can't go for 17. You can't do that. That just can't happen. But again, there are a couple of positive defensive things. I guess he has that going for him.
Yeah, Charlie Morton's been my number one.
This is starting to sound like a vendetta.
I liked Charlie. Like when they signed him, I liked.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
Corbin Burns obviously, but like it was like Charlie Morton's a pitcher that I really enjoyed watching over the last decade. And so I thought it was cool that the Orioles were that they're trying to piece together this rotation, and I was a fan of that, combining that with Sagano, and it just has not panned out at all. Charlie Morton has looked unwatchable.
I don't disagree with that. I don't at all. But
he's number one.
You can't go for 17. Adley Rutschman is number 3 on my list of 3 up. I really wanted to find a way to put Brian Baker on the list, but did end up giving up the run on Saturday. I might regret it later. And I do think that Adley Rutschman deserves some credit for the fact that, like, even in a week where he wasn't necessarily great, he still was getting on base, 5 hits, 3 walks, and then, of course, came up with that huge – that home run on Saturday felt like a momentum. His demonstrative response to it and trying to fight – it felt like that should have been a moment that we could look back on and say – maybe this is when things turned. And maybe this is when Adley kind of took on the, like, no, this is my team. You take your cues from me. Let's effing go. And, maybe it still will. Enough for him to be number 3 on the list.
Yeah, I was between him. I mean, all the guys that had the big hits Saturday is really who I was between. I was between him, Heston, and even though Heston didn't have a great week overall, so I kind of ruled him out.
Yeah.
So it was either Adley or Mullins. I went with Cedric Mullins, and
he's actually my number 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I only put one batter. I did put a reliever on mine.
Fair.
But yeah, Mullins.
I'll find out who it was, and then I'll tell you if it was fair or not.
I put Mullins as my number 3. I mean, again, the big hits, as Ryan just mentioned, he started that rally that led to Heston hitting a 2-run home run. So yeah, Mullins is my number 3.
Well, and he still also got on base, 7 times for the week. Like, this is the.
It was a slow. It was a slow offensive week.
You could say that he only hit 200 for the week, and he did, right? But like, he's still getting on base. I think he had a 386 on base percentage for the week.
Yeah.
That matters. Like, you're gonna have a week where it just happens to be, wow, he went 3 for 15 that week. That's weird, right? Like,
but he drove more runs in than anybody else.
Still, yes, on top of that, and obviously had the biggest hit of the week.
And he had I guess Mountcastle had the big hit on Monday night was so far along ago now, but right. Mullins was part of that as well, I believe, wasn't he? Yeah.
You're asking me to remember something that happened.
He drove in. He went 0 for 3 with an RBI, so drove it.
Yeah, Cedric is number 2 on my list.
My number 2, I went with Ynier Cano out of the bullpen. I mean, he's been the only guy he's been the most consistent guy.
He's been, and
all season.
I hate judging.
They should have been 3-0 in games he pitched in this week as well.
Well, I hate that, right? But he came in with the job yesterday, and that was part of my reflection on Ynier Cano, right? Like, I know it's tough to judge somebody by did they allow an inherited runner from third base to score, right? Like, that is a tough thing to judge somebody by. But in that moment, that was what they needed.
Maybe bring him in a batter earlier. I don't know.
But then you're going to ask him to do the 9th inning. Like, and there was no. I don't think you can ask him to come in a batter earlier. I think, given where you were, obviously Felix Bautista wasn't pitching yesterday. Ynier Cano was going to be your 9th inning guy. So I think you were doing everything in your power to get him to the 9th inning, and finally decided, all right, we got to go. We got to push it for one. Even if he gives up a fly ball there, no problem. Right? Like, anything other than a base hit.
Right.
And it wasn't a cheapie, like, that was why I couldn't put Ynier Cano on the list.
Also, Bo Bichette's really good, so I
know. I'm not – all of it matters. It all matters. But it's certainly, I thought other than that, he was really good, and that was the one.
But, and to your point, I mean, going into that, once it got to the 6th, 7th inning, you were like, yeah, Yennier Cano is the 9th inning guy. And there was no question and you felt really good about that as well. Like, I mean, I think, and Yennier Cano has been, he's been very good.
He's been good. I agree with that.
Very good. I felt like he had to find a way to put, with the offense overall being kind of down this week, I felt like.
I hate it because relievers are going to give up runs. It's going to happen, right? Like, they're not going to pitch to 0 ERAs, and so then I feel bad that I'm never putting relievers on the list because like I'm judging them by these things. But I think this is one of those things where, like, if those things had happened on Tuesday and Monday of last week, I probably feel differently about them than I do because they happened yesterday. All right, we got to call Van Valkenburg. My number one, Eflin. I assume that's number one for you as well.
Yeah, he is number one.
Yeah, I mean, remember Zach Eflin was on the team this week and looked like Zach Eflin on Monday. And, boy, that was pleasant, and boy, it's tough to think about. But 6 innings, 1 run, just 4 total base runners. Zach Eflin things. Zach Eflin's number one for this week, and hopefully he'll be back at a point where he could be number one again at some point in the coming weeks and months. That's 3 up and 3 down for this week. We will post it at glennclarkradio.com here in a bit. Every Monday we go over the 3 Orioles who were up for the week and the 3 Orioles who were down for that week of games. Our number one of today's show is in the books. Not the only thing that happened this week, Orioles baseball. There was a golf tournament, and as you and certainly our next guest knows, I am not a number one golf man. Never will be. But the theater was so good yesterday that after the Orioles game was over, I did find myself spending the rest of the afternoon and into the early evening with the golf. And obviously it turned into quite the moment with Rory McIlroy in the playoff over Justin Rose, winning his first Masters after so many tries and completing the career Grand Slam. This man in Augusta, checking it out. I wish I could physically be giving him a hug right now. He is our friend. No laying up is where you find him. Kevin Van Valkenburg back with us here on GCR. Kevin, what's going on, buddy? Been way too long. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, I was almost waiting as long as Rory McIlroy to come back to win a major for me to come back on the show. So it's what, 10 years?
Stop. No,
stop. Stop. No, it's been what a day. What a day yesterday was.
I was
all the emotions.
It's really funny, man. I was taken by some of your emotions, right? And I wondered where that was for you between just how much you love the sport and what a moment it was for the sport versus interactions that you've had with Rory and how good you might have felt for him because of that. What was coming through? Because I watched a little bit of the podcast, and I sensed that it was kind of an emotional moment for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I got a little teary a couple times, on the back nine, thinking like, God, this guy who I've grown to know over, the last 4 or 5 years, like, who has, I don't know if you could ever really be friends with a famous person, but who just sort of like kind of was like, hey, I want to talk to you. I'm interested in your, you text me about various things and ask me about my kids. No, it's just, as you know, it's just so rare with like people in the mega orbit of fame. They just don't really, naturally, they can't care about other people. And Rory's, kind of his superpower and his vulnerability has always been, his superpower and his Achilles heel is that he's like willing to be vulnerable. He's willing to kind of put you, in his world and basically explain like what's going on in his head. And so, just like the feeling of what it would be like, how devastating it would be for him to essentially have thrown away the Masters like 3 different times within a single round. And then to see this sort of catharsis of like, oh my God, he actually did it. Like all of this weight that's been on this kid since he was 21 years old. I mean, how, it's always fun, I think, when you get to see an athlete grow up. There's athletes that I have come around and like, I got to cover them when they were 25 or 29 or whatever, but Roy's, 21 years old or 19 years old is the first time he ever, won on the European tour. It's just kind of like, you get to see the whole arc of who they are and then get to know them across that sort of span. I don't know. It just was a really incredible moment filled with like, incredible screw ups and incredible like hero shots and just moments where you kind of like, I cannot believe that this is happening. And, when I decided I wanted to cover golf for a living, I'd written about the Ravens for a long time and written about the NFL for a long time. I just was really kind of disappointed that I missed like Tiger's 2019 Masters and Phil's, win at Kiowa. And I was like, I'm not going to miss another one of these. I'm going to basically to a podcast company with golf so that I can be around for the next one of these comets that goes whizzing by. And that was yesterday for me.
That's cool,
Felt
man.
a certain sense of super satisfaction.
I'm really happy for you. That's really cool, man.
It's like I won the
Yeah, it's
Masters,
your
but-
moment, right? Yeah, this was the one. It was Kevin's. You get like a green
See if I can make this about
a
me.
green shirt, I guess, is what you
Think
get
so.
out of it.
The name tag, maybe. Yeah.
Did you sense that's what was happening yesterday? Like on 1, on 13, and then the initial miss putt on 18 in regulation. Was that the weight of everything, or was that just golf? Like that's going to happen, even if you're the most confident. You've never been through anything like this before.
I think it was very much the weight of everything, and Rory admitted as much in the press conference afterwards. He was like, I was the most nervous I think I've ever been. I couldn't eat all day. Like my legs felt like they were sort of shaking. And so just, I walked the first 2 holes with him, and his lead had, evaporated by the time they walked. Bryson was leading by a shot by the time they walked off the second green. And I was just like, you know what? I feel like I've seen this horror show before. I've walked many of these rounds with him where it's kind of slow drip, fall apart. And I was like, I'm just going to go inside and watch on TV for a little bit because I don't know. You can't see all that great out there for some things. And, I watched for an hour inside and I was like, you know what the heck with this? Like, I'm not going to think that my energy can affect the outcome. I'm going back out. And so I caught him up on 9 and then walked all the way to the end. And it was just like, wow, like I'm so glad I was there for that roller coaster and stuff, and people are like calling their kids from the payphones on the back 9 and be like, he's going to do it. And then it like falls apart. And, you're just laughing like, oh my God, this grown man, like weeping. I mean, for like a lot of people who weren't there for Tiger, for like men in their 30s, I guess, Rory is that dude. He's the one who connected them to the game. And so, as emotional as Tiger made people, you could see like waves of that all throughout the course yesterday.
How important is it for the sport to have this, Kevin? Like this is, I think, the context that because I could touch this yesterday, and like I can't, with all due respect to Xander Schauffele, or there's so few things that connect me, but the theater worked. How significant was it for the sport? Which I'm not trying to suggest is in any way not healthy. Like we know that it's an incredibly healthy sport, but yet the transcendent moments don't seem to have been as existent as clearly they were in the era of Tiger Woods.
Sure. I mean, the thing about golf is it's always kind of passed the torch to like the next great player, right? So like, Ben Hogan, then Jack Nicklaus, then Tiger Woods. And it was like, okay, Rory, in 2014, everyone felt like Rory's that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just won his 4th major. He's 24, 25 years old. Like he could win at least 10 of these things. Could he make a run at Tiger? It just like, maybe could he make a run at Jack? At that age, anything seemed possible. And there's only so many times when there is someone who is like bigger than the sort of, I guess, median level of the sport. And Rory seemed like he was that guy. I mean, famously, like Tiger Woods never was in any other commercials with any other golfers until that commercial where like in 2014, they put him in that commercial was like how Rory had been inspired by Tiger and grown up, and then they were playing together. And it was like a real sort of like passing of the torch moment. And then Rory just kind of didn't deliver. It just like stopped. And that storyline was like the dominant storyline within golf for a long time. There's only been, he's the 6th person to ever win the career Grand Slam. And as a tennis guy, know how like big that can feel. But in golf, it's even bigger because it's just like so few people have been able to complete that. And so this was hung over the sport like a ghost for such a long time. And the fact that he couldn't win another major made it even more difficult. And so the fact that it kind of came down to this, like winning the Masters to not only win a major again for the first time in a decade, but to then complete their career Grand Slam and truly become like one of the 10 best players ever in the history of the sport, man, you don't get a lot of chances to see that. And so that's why like it gets outside of the golf atmosphere, and people like yourself are like, damn, like I'm witnessing history here, and history's just cool.
Yeah.
I have friends from high school who don't pay attention to golf at all either, and ex-girlfriends, all kinds of stuff are like texting me and be like, I'm watching Rory McIlroy. This is so cool. My kids are watching him and stuff. It's just, My family chat is going bonkers. Like, that's what you want in sports, is someone who elevates it, outside the normal super fans.
Kevin Van Valkenburg is with us. As you know, I've talked about this a lot. It's what captivated me about tennis was the theater, right? Like the moment, like I could feel it. And that, my God, could you feel it? Like, I don't need to care about any of these people to understand and to feel. And I'll give, Nance. I know everybody has fun with Nance. I think you know that I like him. He's been a friend for a long time.
Yeah.
And I thought like that his acknowledgement of the tension yesterday was really good because it could be felt from far away. I wonder, and I heard you reference this, between this, and, like, there was a reason why everybody thought Rory could win going into this Masters. Is there a chance that now that this weight is off his shoulders, that it could lead to, as you brought up, like the Phil Mickelson type, like late 30s, maybe there's a rejuvenation here and a run to winning more of these, and that number ticking up a little bit more from, it's still, as much as it's cool to win all four, he still has only won 5. Could that happen now in the coming years?
I think for sure. I mean, I'd be shocked now if Rory finished with, just 5 majors. I mean, I think, like, anything is sort of possible because, he acknowledged it, how much this mental burden, like, hung over him. And, like, how often do athletes, like, admit, like, yeah, this is in my head. Like, this is bothering me. This is the huge weight on my shoulders. Like, he not only did that after the fact, but he did that along the way, and tried to say all the right things. And so, man, like, we're going to go to the PGA next, and that is, like, a course in Quail Hollow and Charlotte that he has dominated. He has won a ton of regular PGA Tour events there. It's almost like just set up and made for him. And so, like, when you're playing with house money, it's like Rory McIlroy's career is already kind of complete. If he never wins another tournament, he's still one of the all-time greats, and he can go back to the Masters, and no one can ever be like, oh man, you have this missing piece. So, like, you're playing with house money forever. Like, I could totally see him winning another major this year and probably another Masters at some point. Like, it'll never feel as nervous for him, now playing in Augusta. In fact, he might kind of be like, yeah, I kind of love this place. Whereas I think he was starting to really creep into his mind and be like, this place is just not for me.
The internet reacted to those comments from Bryson afterwards, and I have to acknowledge I know nothing about the sport, right? So I don't know. My initial response was, who gives a flying F? The guy's trying to win the Masters, right? Like, who cares if he's chatty? Yeah. But I do think it's worthy of asking you because is that weird? Is it strange? Like, or would you say that this is pretty common on the Sunday of a major championship, that a player is so zoned in that they're just not going to be talking to the guy they're playing with because they're going to try to win a major championship that day?
Yeah, I think it's way more common to not talk. And I think it sort of reveals a little bit of Bryson's kind of insecurities. Like, he would have enjoyed it if Rory had sort of, had some banter and relaxed him. There's a very famous quote of where Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino were playing in the final round of a U.S. Open. And Lee Trevino is, like, famously, like, one of the great talkers in the history of sports. And Jack sort of said to him on the first tee, like, just between us, Lee, like, I don't really want to talk much today. And Lee said, well, Jack, you don't have to talk. I just want you to listen. I'm going to do all the talking. And, so, I mean, like, it's not like Tiger Woods was never talked to people, like, during rounds. He was an ice-cold Terminator. And so I don't think, like, Rory had no obligation whatsoever. It's just kind of, Bryson gets wrapped up in all this, like, stuff where it's some of it's kind of the political elements that he's involved in. So he's very polarizing in that sense. And some of it's that who don't watch golf, and so they don't really understand kind of like the way that that sort of regular decorum is. So they're like, man, that guy's a jerk. Why wouldn't Rory talk to him? That's just kind of like business as usual. And I gotta think, like, I don't think Bryson was really annoyed. Like, it's easy to sort of, he's just kind of trying to answer that question and be like, yeah, he would, he's not gonna talk to me, like, so whatever. I mean, Bryson also played like crap, like, all day, and he was hitting his irons horribly. He threw away a big time chance to win a Masters, and in some respects, like, I think Bryson gets off easy in the, like, athletic debate of it all, because it's like, yeah, I'm so good for golf, I'm a YouTube guy, whatever. Man, like, he straight up was garbage in the final round of the Masters when he could have played like normal, just regular fine, and he would be putting on the green jacket. So I think Bryson kind of gets off easy some of the criticism. People sort of, it's just a silly kind of debate.
That's really fair. And by the way, I do agree that when I went back and rewatched what he actually said, I just thought he was answering the question, which is I knew better. Like I'm not going to engage with him. Like he doesn't want to talk, and that's the way that it worked out.
I mean, can you imagine like an NBA player saying like, I really expected like LeBron to kind of like
chatty.
have a little friendly banter with me today. Like it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Like what? How come he's not like really being more friendly?
I wanted to talk to him about the Minecraft movie, and he wasn't.
Yeah. I was really upset that Greg Maddox didn't like want to chat. After I hit lay down a butt, and he tried to cover first, and we were chatting it up there.
So bizarre. All right, buddy. What's going on with you? Like, what can I know? Obviously, no laying up, but what can I specifically plug something for you? Like, when's your daughter gonna win her first major? Like, what's happening?
Gosh,
in life, man.
We're just hoping that she's got her final season of PGA Juniors coming up, which I'm pretty excited about. So if you're listening and your kid is interested at all in golf, I would say put them in PGA Juniors because it's a really cool thing. So instead of writing this week, Glenn, my colleague Neil Schuster and I spent the whole week putting together a narrative podcast about the week in the life of the Masters. That is going to come out either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. I think it's going to be really cool. It's the first time the club ever let anybody basically have free reign in the place with microphones all week.
That's cool.
And you famously cannot bring your cell phone in there. And so they let us, after months of negotiation, like bring these recording devices in. And we just basically tried to capture the sound of the Masters and tell the story that way. And so it's still writing, but a different kind of writing. And I think it's going to be really cool. I think it's going to give if you've never get to go to the Masters, which is obviously very hard to get to go, this will hopefully like take you into that world a little bit.
That's
and man,
awesome.
I'll tell you, like when you don't have your phone, I know the world is trending in the exact opposite way. And this is kind of a quaint, like feels like some well, some people think it's totally out of date and like not the way that, not cool. I freaking love it.
Oh.
I love going to Masters and putting my phone away for 7-8 hours at a time, and just you feel so much more connected to the people around you and the things in front of you, and just the things smell better and things taste better, and the sounds are unbelievable.
Dude,
so hopefully that podcast will come across.
I do the games for Loyola, and their lacrosse coach Charlie Toomey. He said, "Hey, I'd like you to come to a pregame dinner one game this season and speak to the guys." And I said, "Sure, I'll do that." And he said, "Here's the thing, though. Like, we don't do phones at the pregame dinner." And I just jumped off I said, "My God, that's the best thing I've ever heard." That you just say to the boys, like, you're gonna get, because I'm sure you thought about when you were playing football at Montana and you were getting together with the guys, you weren't worrying about what else was going on. You were just making memories and having those moments.
Dude, I would like to someday have a lengthy discussion about this on air or off, but I think that our generation might be the most blessed generation because we're kind of like the tweeners between like the modern world. A little younger than I am, but I never went to a house party in college where people were looking down at their phones.
Correct.
Because they didn't exist in 98, 1999. No one had a cell phone back then. And it was just, if you were going to find somebody at a bar or party, you kind of made the rounds, you just met new people. You flirted with girls, you laughed, you watched sports together without somebody making bets on their phone. It was just a true blessing in disguise to not be connected in that way. I never had to worry about somebody followed me on Instagram or not. And I see the world my kids are growing up in, and it's tough. And I just, the Masters is a reminder of this is kind of actually a civilized thing. Maybe we don't need to be this connected and plugged in.
I love you, buddy. I do. I really appreciate. I know it's a busy week. Thank you for doing this morning.
All good.
I'm so happy
Anytime,
that you got
bud.
to have those moments, man. That's really, really cool, dude.
Thanks, bud.
Talk soon.
Thanks. All right. Sounds good. Bye.
It's my guy, Kevin Van Valkenburg. Love him. One of my favorite human beings. And I did. I got a secondhand what he was experiencing. I appreciate that. Even though it's not my thing, and I can't lie. I can't pretend it's my thing. I wouldn't be a poser today and be like, God. But I could fully appreciate every ounce of what he was feeling. And it did. It was really transcendent good television, man. Even for people like me that don't care about golf. The weight, what he's referring to, when my son and I actually were watching together. And when Rory walked up that quickly on 18 to try to make the putt, I was like, oh, he's going to miss this. He's just trying to get it over with. Like, you could just feel like in that moment, in the original putt, the one in regulation, he just wanted it over with. Whatever's going to happen, I just want to get – I don't want to deal with this, right? And we've all been there. Where even if the result isn't great, we just want to get to that. Like, get to it. Like when you get a phone call that you could go one way or the other. It could either be, a job offer. It could be rejection. You just, dude, don't run me through the rigmarole. Just tell me. Tell me. And that's what I was feeling that Rory McIlroy was going through walking up to that putt that would have won on the 72nd hole. Was, dude, I just need to get this over with. Either I'm going to win the Masters or we're going to go to a playoff, but I just need a result right now because I can't. The anxiety is too much. Obviously, he missed it. Putt that he probably should have made. And then you thought, oh, there's no coming back from that. There's no coming back. Like, that's it. So the shot that he hit, obviously, the approach shot on the second time they played 18, when he put it within 2 feet, and you're just like, holy crap. All right. That's a decent response. And maybe it had to be, an approach and not a putt, right? Like, I feel like in golf, putts are where all of the anxiety comes out.
Mm-hmm.
An approach shot, there's still a lot of stuff that can happen, right? Like, a lot of things can change. But a putt, you're figuring it out in that moment. All right, when we come back in, Rayuan Lane from Navy, getting ready for the NFL draft. Pride of Gilman. He joins us next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas Combo, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious filling sandwiches including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR. Final days for this print issue with David Rubenstein on the cover. And then the new one hit stands in the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on where you are. It's going to be rolling out, and that's got the trio of Felix Bautista, Kyle Bradish, and Tyler Wells on the cover, and a story from Luke Jackson about returning from major surgery. So that's coming, the new print issue of Press Box, in the next couple of days. Had to do this earlier today because of his busy schedule getting ready for the NFL draft. A chance to catch up with Rayuan Lane here on GCR. Well, we are less than 2 weeks away from the start of the NFL draft, and I'm really excited to bring our next guest back into the program. He had an outstanding season this year and throughout his Navy career. And now he is expected to hear his name called during the NFL draft. It is a pleasure to welcome in the pride of Gilman, former Navy safety. Rayuan Lane is back with us here on the program. Ray, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you again, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Ray, before we get into the draft, I just wonder, because I remember we talked to you in September, and we know there were a lot of positives at that point. But the way this year played out, not just for you, but obviously for this team, and doing the things that you all did, winning the CIC, beating Army, winning a bowl game against Oklahoma, your path and the opportunity that you had to maybe depart at one point and go to greener pastures, what did it mean to you that it all worked out the way that it did for your final season at the Naval Academy?
Yeah, I think it's ultimately just a blessing, and I think those kind of outcomes, started from our senior class, Before the season even started, we were able to meet and talk about what our culture was going to be like, what our legacy was going to be like, and all those things, and kind of, get the whole team on the same page, So I felt as though we did a great job doing that. We were able to go through all the hard times, the previous seasons where we didn't have that many wins. We didn't really accomplish, too many of our goals, but we were able to put all that aside and move forward, and become a new program, but become a new team, and be able to accomplish those goals that we knew we could.
What does it mean to you to know that you helped write that new chapter in Navy football history, right? That's your legacy that will forever be there in Annapolis.
I mean, it means a lot, starting off just for the young guys on the team, for them to be able to see that, for them to be able to see the type of leaders we are, the type of leader that I am, all those different things, for the coaches to be able to see that, and then obviously for the fans to be able to see that, just a different energy, being able to come out to Navy Marine Corps Memorial or wherever it might be to watch their team play and to watch their team put on a show. It feels awesome. It feels great.
Ray, I know you've opened up about the opportunities that you had when you did consider the transfer portal. What a blessing! Like, do you ever play the what if game at all? Like, do you do that? Like, hey, what might this have been like if I had done this other thing, or how could life have been different? Do you do any of those things? And does it give you that reassurance that, like, no, I know I did the right thing?
I think you said it exactly right. I don't really tend to think about what could have happened or what should have happened or anything like that. I'm just really grateful, to be in the position I am in, to have stayed, to soon be a graduate of the Naval Academy, to have accomplished those goals last season, and, all those things. So I never tend to think back. I'm just really, really grateful, for my decision and to be able to be here at the Naval Academy.
That's really cool. Rayuan Lane is with us here on GCR. Ray, you get to do all of it, right? You get to do the Senior Bowl, you get to do the Combine, but it's clearly a little bit different for you than it is for everybody else going through this. Can you describe what it's been like to simultaneously be attempting to graduate from the Naval Academy, like actively, day to day, while also, going through what for everybody else would be the most significant job interview process they'll ever go through in their life?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things coming at once, but something that I really learned, I would say, my freshman year is doing hard things. If it was easy, everyone would be able to do it. So just being able to go through that process to balance class, workouts, film, Zoom meetings, all those different things. It just makes my character that much better and makes me prepare for that many more things. So. It's a blessing, and I'm glad that I'm getting to go through it this way.
Ray, can you describe, like, how important it is to you to do both, right? That you don't want it to be that I'm only focused on football. That, like, how significant is it to you that you're showing, no, I am very serious about both my football career and my career in the Marines?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, no matter what you're doing in life, you always want to put your best foot forward, So that kind of culture that I was talking about, our seniors kind of created on our football team, that goes into the same thing being here, in Bancroft Hall at the academy. It's the same culture. I I can't just be halfway in and halfway out. So it's a full go mentality, and that's the only way a place like this can keep running and we can keep producing how we produce. So I would say that's the thing, just putting your best foot forward in everything that you're in.
Ray, I know the policy. It's complicated at the point, but based on what I've heard, you're confident that when your name gets called in the NFL draft, you're going to have the opportunity to go ahead and pursue football for the next couple of years.
No doubt. I mean, 100% confidence. I'm not really thinking about what will happen if it doesn't, because we already know, it will happen. Just having those conversations, being able to get those paperwork and different things like that in. So yeah, I have 100% full confidence that everything will work out.
What is it like, explaining like to people that are in your life, right? Like that don't know, like, hey, when do you have a picture for what that means for what your service will be, down the road or in the meantime? Like, can you explain that yet, or do you not know what that looks like just yet?
Can you repeat that for me one more time?
Based on what we know now with this new policy, do you know what that will look like for when it is that you do get to serve? Like, when that would be? Is it after your career? Is it simultaneously that you'll be starting your service as you play in the NFL?
Yeah, so it'll be after the playing and stuff is over with. I'll get to go back and do what I ultimately signed up for. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool. It's very rare, right? We don't see that all every day. Ray, I know you were at Ravens local prospect day, and as a kid who grew up right here in this area, went to Gilman, can you kind of put it into words being in that facility? I read in The Athletic about like your experience watching the team, but can you put into words what that was like, just being there and sort of walking around that facility and knowing, hey, this might be me?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about. Growing up in Little League, that was the first NFL stadium that I ever got to play in, and then moving forward, driving to Gilman every day. That was like one of the major structures I seen, M&T Bank Stadium, so just getting to go to their facility where they train at, getting to talk to coaches, getting to talk to coordinators personally and stuff like that. I would say it's kind of surreal, because you obviously, like, that's a dream being young, and then just for, it to be able to come true, to be sitting in the same rooms as greats have sat in the past, It's a surreal experience, but it's awesome at the same time, and I'm very thankful for it.
It's really incredible, and boy, it would be really cool if it were to work out that way. We worry about the other thing, right? Like, we worried about it being a certain team in Western Pennsylvania, which would still be cool for you, but not quite as cool for us if it were to work out that way. Ray, how are you different than any other prospect in this NFL draft class, right? The team that drafts you, what are they getting that they couldn't get from anyone else that they would be using that pick on?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall I'm really good at, getting the ball back to the offense. But other than that, you got a special teams warrior. You've seen it all throughout college, starting on special teams all 4 years while starting on defense. So, just the hunger, the love for football, the no job too small, going out there, just trying to put my best foot forward, trying to do whatever I can, to help the team out. And then I would say really the intangibles that you learn from being here at the Naval Academy, as far as leadership, as far as maturity, all those types of things are just things that we were told, earlier on, we had to learn earlier on. So it just makes me that much more prepared to step into a room or step into a program, and be different and set myself apart.
Were you like that before you arrived in Annapolis, Ray, or did you need your time at the academy to become that type of person, that type of leader?
Yeah, I would say I had a little bit of it in me, but I mean, just 4 years of development, focusing on those pillars, honor, courage, and commitment, leadership, maturity, all those different types of things definitely helped me out a lot. Not only myself, but, family, close ones, everyone that knew me was able to see a change in a positive way.
Do you think you can bring that immediately on? Like, everybody talks about, hey, that's not leadership is not typically something that it's expected about from a rookie in the NFL. But do you feel like that's just sort of who you are now? It's in your blood that, even as a rookie, you can bring those qualities to an NFL team.
I mean, I definitely do, and leadership is not always who's speaking up or trying to hop in front of the lines first. In order to lead, especially in new places, you got to be able to listen and learn and respect others. So being humble and being able to do those things, then you can kind of work your way into different various ways of leading. So I feel like I have a lot of training, in that area, and I feel like I could definitely help out, a program or a room or whatever it would be.
Navy safety Rayuan Lane, just another couple of minutes with him here on Glenn Clark Radio. Ray, do you even get to have like a draft party, or you like, dude, I got to do drills? That's just it's not really in the cards for me.
Yeah, so I'll be in class like normal those first 2 days, but on that Saturday, I'll be able to just, chill with my family and watch.
Do you feel like this is something I feel like the chip on the shoulder thing is something that was probably significant for you, given that you weren't like a highly pursued recruit coming out of high school. Do you still feel that today? Like, even with all of the opportunity that you've gotten, as I referenced, doing the Senior Bowl, doing the Combine, do you still carry that chip on the shoulder mentality with you?
No doubt, and that was something that I had ever since I was a little kid. I always have something to prove, no matter what, because I always believe I can do more, I can show more. I'm ultimately better than what people might think. So just going to attack every single day and going out there with something to prove, ultimately just improves your game. And improves your respect. It just improves you in all different areas. So that's something that will never go away from me.
I respect that, man. I feel like there's something like uniquely Baltimore about that too, right? Like, you're not the only person. I'm betting even your brother, right, at a place like Penn State probably carries that with him too. I don't think that's unique.
No doubt.
It's sort of a part of who we are, man. Like, that's just the way that it goes. Who in your family would struggle the most if it were to be the Steelers?
I honestly don't think any of them.
You think they'll all be good?
Would be struggling. Yeah, I think they'd be fine.
Man, I don't know how I would handle that. I don't know if that'll be all right whatsoever. I don't know if that'll be the case. Ray, I guess I'll wrap with this one, right? Everything that you've accomplished to this point, and everything that's laid out in front of you. What is it going to mean to you when you do hear your name called, right? Like by whoever it is. What is that moment going to mean to you next weekend when it hits that it's real and it's happening and you're in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be ecstatic. Obviously, I think one of the big points is just being able to have that name called. And kind of set a standard, kind of a bar for my little brother, because obviously he looks up to me. So that would just make him get on his grind so much more. He appreciate that. But then obviously just knowing that, hey, the work is just starting. It's not enough just to hear your name called and be like, oh, the work is done. I finally made it. No, you're back at the bottom really. And like I said, that chip on your shoulder. It has to be there all throughout workouts, training camp, all those different types of things, just to become the type of player that I want to be. So
love that, man. Ray, I can't tell you enough what a joy it was to watch you play football these last 4 years at Navy, man. And again, as I said a couple of times, God, it would be the coolest thing ever if, much like Keenan Reynolds once upon a time, it worked out that you stuck around here in Baltimore. Wherever you are, I promise we'll root for you. Just understand, if it is black and yellow, that we probably will say mean things on Twitter. We don't mean it, all right? Like, it's
no
not
doubt.
personal. We will forever be fans of yours, dude. I know, let's remind everybody, on Instagram, it's Rayuan Lane III, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then on Twitter, Rayuan 18?
Yes, sir.
Ray, congratulations on everything, man. Can't wait to see what's next for you. Really appreciate you taking the time for us this morning.
No doubt. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
That's Rayuan Lane. Really special young man. Obviously a hell of a football player. Had a knack for making massively big plays for Navy last season. And again, a guy that had some options. He, early on in his career at Navy, after going from being largely unrecruited, he had some real like NIL money on the table to consider departing and going to power conference schools, and he stuck it out, and just a special human being, man. Really special human being. I'm not trying to juxtapose him in any way. I want to make this very clear. Nico Iamaleava. Did we decide that's what it was? What did we decide it was?
Iamaleava. That's what we decided.
Is not going to be at Tennessee.
Confident that's what it is, too.
We think he's not going to be at Tennessee.
Well, unless they come up with $4 million or whatever it is that he's asked.
They're saying he's not going to be at Tennessee. And he'll become a free agent. And it is very easy for a lot of people to say, well, this is everything that's wrong. This is why the college sports thing, it's wrong now, is to point at Nico Iamaleava and say, this is proof that the system's broken, that this doesn't work anymore. And I get it. I do. But it's an easy thing to say. The system is what it is and allows for this. As was pointed out by a few people, that we know that football players were doing this for the playoff last year. Hey, you want me to play in the playoff? Find a little more money. This is what the NCAA created by inactivity for years. We can complain about it, and we can say that this isn't okay. And no, inherently, I don't think there should be a world where, players should be trying to, in the middle of a season, hold out and say, I refuse to play in the next game unless you pay me more money. I don't think that's good or healthy for a sport. The Nico Iamaleava thing, I don't know how different it is than if an NFL player were to hold out. I get it. Some people don't like it when NFL players hold out, but it's part of the system. We get it. The difference would be the length of the contract. And this is the part that I really struggle with, because I tried to bring it up with G. Roy Simon when he came on with us. Why can't you lock guys into longer contracts? Well, they can always break them. Well, no, that's not the way it works. You're saying that because coaches can break their contracts, but coaches can break the contracts because the contracts are written for a certain number. If the next school provides us this fee, then you can leave for that school. They have a buyout. You could build a buyout into a player's contract. Yeah, you can leave if this school wants to give us more money. Or the player could say, I'm not going to sign a contract like that. If the revenue share offer is from, let's say, UConn, and that player's like, hey, I'm just going to be honest with you, I want to be here for 2 years until I go to a bigger place, then he probably doesn't want to sign a 4-year deal with a huge buyout at UConn and might choose instead to go to East Carolina or something like that. But screaming about it and just talking about how awful it is until we're blue in the face doesn't do anything. You have to create a system that works. And if there's an option for, I'm not going to keep playing unless you give me more money, and there's somewhere that's willing to give you more money, then this ain't going to be the last time. Just asking quarterbacks to say, but really like the place where you're at and don't want more money. That ain't the solution. So scream about the kid all you want to scream about him. But the system has to be redone, rehauled completely to prevent these things from happening. And probably that means you need to give them more in those contracts in order to prevent things like this from happening. Jeremy Conn is with us every Monday here on GCR, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, ConcreteLocks.com. What's going on with you, buddy? Are you going to hold out and tell me that you won't come back on next Monday unless I give you more money? Because you know damn well these $500 that we've been giving you for every week for the last couple of years, I just can't go.
I'm just going to say double what you've been giving me every Monday, and I'll be here.
We'll be all
right. No, but like it's funny because I kind of had a feeling that you and I would be on this similarly. Similarly, the hardest word for me to ever say, along with regularly. Live. But anyway. No, because like there's so many people that are mad at this kid for, and maybe it's how he's doing it if they want to use that side of it. But like if we go back and look at it, Caleb Williams left Oklahoma for USC. He followed his coach and got the bag out there. I mean, there have been so many quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders in this year's draft. He transferred from Jackson State. With that, like you start looking at all these things, and it's, how do we get mad at one individual who's like, I can capitalize on my situation, so why not?
Especially with someone like Nico Iamaleava, who I think we all can look at and say he's probably not going to be a starting caliber NFL quarterback, right? Like maybe that could change between now and then, but I think most of us look at him that way and say, this might be his best opportunity to make the most amount of money in his life because he's a commodity at the college level, and someone doesn't have a quarterback. And someone is probably willing to give him $5 million to come be their quarterback next year. You want me to be mad at the kid for that?
I'm surprised that they couldn't figure this out. I mean, his last name's I'm a leaving. So like I figured he was definitely leaving.
You could just tell it was the way it was going to go. No, dude, I'm in this weird place where I'm like, I get it. Is it good? All of this thing where Maryland is going to have a completely different roster. I know that's somewhat unique because of a coaching change, but even if there hadn't been a coaching change, let's be fair, it would have been like 10 new players next year.
Yeah.
Like the only difference is going to be 13 new players instead of 10. Like I understand that it can be both situation to me. It can both be that it's not good for the sport, for the overall health of you want to get to know someone, follow them, being invested in them. Then maybe you're more inclined to buy gear, and that might get you out to a game. Like we want that inherently, and everybody should know that's good. But what are you doing to create a system where that's the best situation? What are you doing to make that plausible beyond just saying like, so that's what the kids should do because I say so? Like we're lost.
We also got to get past that point of everybody. I don't know if you and I have talked about it, but I know Rob and I have off the air, like the older athletes, like, oh, these guys shouldn't be making this because I never made this. And those guys shouldn't get that because I never got that. At some point, don't you want the players to get what they deserve instead of – because if it's not going in their pocket, it's definitely not going back in ours as the viewer. It's going in, ownership or the university's pocket. So I don't know, man. Like I
you know
like
what's weird about that? It's so funny, Jeremy, because as you say that, I'm also hearing. Did you see the clip of Shaq going after Ben Simmons?
Was it Ben Simmons that he was going after?
Yeah, he was on. He has his own. He does his own podcast with Adam Lefkoe, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And on that podcast, he was talking about how he's got no problem with the idea of certain guys making $50 million, right? Like that they're worth it. And then he said, but Ben Simmons is flat out stealing money. Like he's stealing money. And I get what he was trying to say, which is like, from a business standpoint, there is a level at which it becomes harmful. Because if we're paying, are people going to an NBA arena because Ben Simmons is coming to town? Like, does that drive anybody to a game whatsoever?
I don't even think it brings the Simmons family to the game.
I don't know why. I have no idea why they'd want to go to the games. And yet Ben Simmons is making this boatload of money. So his point is like, yes, for the top guys, 1,000% they should be making this type of money because they're driving it. But the problem is it's carried over, and now we're just giving it to everybody because that's the number, and it ends up hurting the business in the process because these guys aren't worth that amount of money, really. It's just that we've lifted everybody up and said if you get this, then everybody's got to get this. And it was an interesting Shaq's a complicated person, and not everything he says is very thought out, but I thought this one actually was very thought out to how it does maybe ultimately affect the NBA and hurt the NBA when this is the amount of money that somebody's paying and you can't get that much value from that.
Yeah, look, I think that's some excellent points there as far as where we're at in sports and what the expectations are going to be. And, you know, you're going to have guys like Shaq speaking up. When you first brought it up, I thought it was the thing that happened at the UFC event where, I don't know if it was
Trump
Adrian Ross
whatever,
or who he was pointing at. Yeah, no, he was pointing at somebody like, stop staring at me. What are you looking at? I'll come over. Like, yeah, he was, and it didn't look like it was like staged or it was fake. It looked like he was angry. But yeah, I mean, with the way that the league's assembled now and how we have things, of course, the numbers are going to get ridiculous because, again, the price of everything's going up. And this is what I talked about kind of this morning just regarding baseball, too. When you look around the league, you've got the Yankees with the worst ERA in baseball, the Orioles right there behind them. You've had a couple other teams that have already lost starting pitchers that are going to be looking. And before you know it, the price for Alcantara or whoever it may be is just going to go through the roof. And it's the same way in the offseason when you have all these teams that are vying for pitching. So at some point, the Orioles are going to say, is this who we are, or are we actually going to overspend on one of these guys just because that's what the market's saying they're worth?
Boy.
And I feel like that's where we're at in college now, because if you have a chance to take advantage of a situation to make yourself more money, why wouldn't you do it except for the fact that you think people would be down on it and look at you differently?
Let's transition that into the Orioles situation, right?
Okay.
Because, Jeremy, I'm writing today. I have never, since Mike Elias arrived, I'm realizing this is by far the most confused I've ever been about the direction of the Baltimore Orioles. And I didn't, like, we all talked about it in the offseason, but then I said, hey, but the pieces are there, they could be good. I'm so confused by the combination of offering the highest AAV ever for a pitcher to try to bring back Corbin Burns, but plan B being shoulder shrug. I don't know what evidence I would have if somebody said, well, clearly the Orioles have their core and they're trying to win the World Series with this core. What evidence would I have that backs that up? I know that's what we think they should be doing, but do we have any evidence that that's actually what they are doing? There's not a plan in place. Like, we're all kind of accepting they're not likely to extend their guy. What is actually going on here?
Well, I think they will extend their guys, but I also think, like, when Rob pointed it out, saying that you offered Corbin Burns a 4-year deal, and then when his contract would run out, that's when Gunners would be coming up. And are you making that type of move? Are you going to offer that type of money? I think a new ownership will. It's just a matter of Mike Elias has his own budget and how he wants to work things and what he believes in. And if you look at this year, yeah, it's blowing up in his face, but it's not like, I mean, they came in with 10 starting pitchers that they had a chance to kind of look at, and you may not have liked all of them. But the fact that Grayson and Eflin are down now, we don't know when, if they're coming back. I mean, you would assume they are, but, like, again, that's an issue. You bring in Charlie Morton, and, he's carrying this chunky-ass ERA and hitting a lot of bats, but I don't know what you expected from a 40-plus-year-old vet. And then on top of it, what you have here isn't all that great. Like, people didn't like Trevor Rogers. I was one that I wanted to wait and see what happened, but he's hurt. Chase McDermott should have been the next guy in line to come up and get starts. If somebody got hurt, he's hurt, And then you start looking elsewhere, and everybody in this rotation has been hurt. So you kick the tires on Kyle Gibson, but he's not ready yet. So, like, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that factor in. And there's also that quote from Mike Elias, like, you don't need a number one to make the playoffs and win throughout the year. Now, when you get into the postseason, I think you definitely need some number ones, or you just need to catch fire.
Right, or you need
I've said all along, I think the Orioles are built for the regular season right now.
I don't even know if they're I don't know what they're built for, Jeremy. This is why I'm so troubled by it.
There's nobody in the AL East with 10 wins.
I know that, and that's what, I'm not trying to pretend like there's all things are lost. Like, when I have this conversation, it sounds like I'm saying like the Orioles are dreadful. I know they're not dreadful. I know the teams.
You have expectations.
You're going to go 6-9. It's more that I keep I keep trying to make heads or tails of this Corbin Burns thing in comparison to what they ended up doing. And to your point, Michael Elias says you don't need a number one, right? Well, but you wanted a number one, like you did. And then your response to we didn't get the number one was, well, let's go with a lot of fives and see if we can have all of the fives work out. I'm really struggling with what is the philosophy? What is the goal? Is the goal to win a World Series? Like David Rubenstein says it is, but what are you doing that suggests that?
Let me give you the other side. Well, they did spend, and look, this isn't, trust me, I'm not dying on this hill about them spending money in the offseason because they did spend way more than they've spent the past couple of years.
Yeah, but that's because they spent next to nothing. Yeah.
But they did spend some money in the offseason. They made the decision to go cheaper with O'Neill than to bring Santander back. And then I honestly, I thought it was a decent idea, but you're bringing in another outfielder and you got all these young outfielders that are blocked. You got a first baseman right now that maybe Kobe Mayo is a 4A guy. They didn't get him out this weekend at all in AAA. 9 times, reached base all 9 times, so like he's killing it there. He has nothing left to prove there.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we doing with him? If you're not trading him to get something that you need right now, then he should be here. I mean, he's, but we're going to be taking a look at Ryan O'Hearn, who absolutely rakes right-handed pitching. We're going to be taking a look at Tyler O'Neill, same thing, big-time power hitter. Maybe he gets hurt and it works itself out. Mountcastle's at first base. So, like, there's a lot of talent here, but you're right. From a pitching standpoint, it's not there. But I also venture to guess, this is my opinion, that they didn't like the starting pitching that was out there in the offseason and paying that type of price for it outside of Corbin Burns.
But I think that's you put yourself in that position. You're the ones that don't draft and develop pitchers, right? Like that's an organizational philosophy that you have not drafted pitchers, and that's your call.
Is that their philosophy, or has there just not been the pitchers that they wanted there?
Maybe the way that I've understood it is like this has been more of a philosophical thing, that the volatility of arms they find it too great to use that high of an asset on pitching, and so right? Like that's probably true, but you can't have it both ways. Like it can't be, well, there's too much volatility when they're young and there's too much volatility when somebody's got to pitch. Like this. You can't just keep hoping that there will be a magical Corbin Burns trade to be made for a year, or that maybe he won't want 6 years on a contract and would like a 4-year deal better. Like that. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around what the pitching plan is. Like what is
well,
this?
I mean, the other thing, and we could sit here and still talk about it as far as who they could go get. I mean, you are hoping that you get Bradish back this year, and you don't know what you're getting there. That's the one thing that you have that other teams don't have, is a guy that could be your best pitcher coming back in the middle of the season.
Right.
But again, you can't rely on that either. That's the other part of it. But I do think they still, even though I keep saying it, they have all the capital to make any move that they want. I feel like they're in that unique group of every team that calls them asking for something are going to ask for one of the big three
too much,
up front. Yeah. And maybe now Jackson Holliday's passed because he's here at the major league level. Oh, by the way, Drew Jones still in single A, if anybody was wondering. So when you look at it, yeah, I think they're going to end up having to probably bite that bullet and trade somebody they don't want, but that's part of the game.
Oh, I think that
they don't want to trade.
It 1,000% causes it. This requires them making a truly uncomfortable trade, right? Like I don't think there is a way that this team can raise the level of competing for a World Series without them making a truly uncomfortable trade. And I still have my doubts about their ability to do that. I'm hoping that the inconsistency of the offense that starts to dissipate as Gunnar Henderson gets more and more comfortable, and everybody kind of takes their cues from there. But I don't know, man. I really do have some deep-seated fears that this was just a really flawed construction of a baseball team, and this might not be the year. This might be the year that things have to be recalibrated a little bit. I'm not trying to make a prediction. I just have some fears about that.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. Look, man, as we're looking at baseball, everybody has the right to be entitled to what they think the team should do. I disagree with so many people about, oh, you got to sign this guy and you got to trade that guy and you got to go do this. Baseball is such a weird sport that you can manufacture your way through the season and still make the playoffs, which I still think the Orioles are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get there, it's we've talked about this. The whole point is not just getting there,
right.
It's winning. And we haven't even seen them win a game in the postseason in a long time. So let alone, win a series. So all these things factor in. And when you look at the American League, I see a lot of similar teams. I don't see any dominant teams at all.
With that. 100%. To me, that's the best thing that I would look at right now. And somebody posed that question to me, in your heart of hearts, do you still think they're a playoff team? And I'm like, Yeah, I do, but that has as much to do with me looking around and saying, because who really do you fear of this group? Like, do you fear the Blue Jays? Like, I don't fear the Blue Jays. I think they're also a really flawed baseball team. Like,
yeah,
I think there's a lot of teams that are really flawed that they're up against at the moment, and some of them are going to make the postseason. Speaking of the playoffs, I know you're an NBA man. I genuinely don't know, like, who should be considered the favorite going into the postseason at this point. Like, I get it. Cleveland and Oklahoma City are the best teams, but they're the teams that are the most unproven with everything at stake. So who should be? Is it just default to Boston because they're the team that did it most recently?
I think, look, Boston has the most talent, but they're completely banged up, man. Like, there's a lot of injuries, and whether or not Kristaps Porzingis can make it through the playoffs and stay as healthy as he can. You look at it, Jaylen Brown is probably going to have surgery in the offseason. He's been playing through some injuries. And again, it's really hard to tell down the stretch because all of these teams have been sitting their starters left and right of like, okay, who's really ready to play and who's not. But I think, look, Oklahoma City to me is the best team in basketball, period, right now with the depth that they have. They have a go-to guy that is going to win the MVP but shouldn't because what Nikola Jokic did this year is absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I do think the Thunder are the best team. Could you get hot with Luka and LeBron? Sure you could, but they get killed by centers. The West is absolutely loaded, so no matter what team you pick, I think anybody could make a run. And when it comes down to the Eastern Conference, I think it's the Cavs or the Celtics, and everybody else is just there for the party.
I agree with that. There's this part of me that like looks at the Nuggets at 31-1 right now and says like that's worth taking a flyer on, right? Like that's worth me just throwing a couple bucks at, just because as crazy as it is and as much as they've been flawed.
And
to
Jokic
say,
is that good, man.
That's what I'm like. It doesn't feel right that they're third. How do the Nuggets have worse odds than the Knicks, really? Like, I know, I understand what they've been going through recently, but you're really telling me.
I think it's just because of the conference, right?
Yeah.
Like, because the West is loaded. I mean, the Knicks are, like, to me, an enigma because there's so much talent there, but you know what Tom Thibodeau does? He goes, how many minutes we playing?
Right.
You guys think you can play all of them? You know, like, and we always get to this point of the season, and it kind of, you know, has that same issue where you get into the postseason. Now other teams are playing their starters the same length, but your guys are worn out from doing it all year long. So, again, with the Western Conference, nothing would surprise me. I mean, we have a play-in game that's the Warriors versus the Grizzlies.
Crazy, right?
The Grizzlies were the number one team in the West 2 years ago before Ja started brandishing guns and throwing grenades into the crowds and stuff like that. But you know, that's a talented team. And then this Warriors team got hot with Jimmy Butler. And we'll see. And like, I don't think either team's winning the championship, but that's a damn play-in game. And those are teams that you may not want to face in the first round, you know?
I agree. The difference between the 3 seed in the West and the 7 seed, to your point, playing in the play-in game was 2 games. 2 games between those two things. What else is going on with you, man?
You know, just same old, man. Where kind of, I got back to, I was off on Friday. I was out sick, so a little bit better now. I head to Ireland at the end of May, so I'm excited about that.
What are you doing?
We're seeing the Lumineers there.
Oh, that's cool.
But we're also,
that's cool.
I love the Lumineers. And by the way, I got tickets when they came back too. So that's their European tour, and then I come back to the U.S. tour and see them down in
Nationals Park. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got hooked up with those, but I'm seeing Mumford and Sons and Wu-Tang Clan. So I've got a lot of concerts coming up, which is kind of cool. But
it's quite the dichotomy. I think is that the Merriweather show? I'm going to be at that show, the Mumford and Sons show.
Yes.
I'll be there.
Well, you definitely have to come by and say hi. My wife's coming, so
I've got a very.
I'll probably sneak in some minis.
I've got a very white Merriweather summer ahead of me. I've got like Sturgill Simpson, Mumford and Sons, and the Dave Matthews Band. Like it's about the whitest. I think a Gary Clark Jr. too, but mostly a very white Merriweather summer ahead for me.
See, but I got to see Sturgill Simpson too. Like I saw Tyler Childers, who I loved. But I mean, like I'll go to any concert, really. Like it doesn't. I just like live music.
Yeah. I've been to Smash Mouth, so I can't say any concert. I can't.
Well, you can't see them anymore. At least most of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way that it worked out. I saw this actually last week. I legitimately had friends. Did you know that? I can't believe Griffin missed it. Creed did a cruise, like a themed cruise last week, and I had
Kiss would do?
I had friends friends, people that I respect otherwise, that chose to spend their money on the Creed cruise. And then they showed me the lineup, and other than Creed, I was like, I might have actually enjoyed that.
Who else was there? Do you remember?
Oh, God, I got to pull it up now. It was...
was it Len?
This is like an overnight thing?
I love Steal My Sunshine.
This is like an overnight
Len
thing?
and Live,
It was a week-long cruise. It was an actual, like, cruise ship that like went out, and there was, like, concerts every night. Living Color, Collective Soul, Filter, Blackstone Cherry. Wow. Yeah, right? Like, there were some Tonic, Vertical Horizon... The Verve Pipe? Oh, you think you and...
Vertical Horizon?
Oh, God.
Man.
Apparently, our friends Jimmy's Chicken Shack were on this thing, too. Like, this was a whole deal, apparently.
Were there anybody that bought tickets or just the bands on the cruise? Right. They're just playing for each other.
Correct. Like 2 floors of the boat. Or just nothing. By the way, imagine being the person that just wanted to get on a cruise and, like... because this is the real thing. They still list these boats that you can just get on, right? Like, if they don't sell out. So someone else just wanted to go on a trip and, like, went to, like, cruisefinder.com or something like that and saw there was a boat from, Port Canaveral to Nassau and was like, that sounds great. And that got on it, and it was a bunch of people that like Creed. Like, that's how
and now you're stuck in international waters with Scott Stapp. Yeah, that's great.
You never know. He might be throwing salami at your ass or something. I think you have to pay more for that. I'm not sure if that's an upgrade type of situation. All right, Big Bad Morning Show, of course, this week.
And one last thing, I finished White Lotus. We didn't get a chance to talk about it.
Okay. Were you as disappointed as the general public was? Because I was not.
I wasn't disappointed at all. Like, my son just watched the first season. He goes, I don't know if I like this show, and I'm like, I loved it. So, but now with this past season, I mean, you brought it up with Goggins. Like, I just enjoyed watching him every time he was in a scene, and Sam Rockwell stole the whole damn thing with his monologue about Ladyboys.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I was fine with it. There were I felt like they tied some things up really quickly, which I didn't like. But with the overall storyline, I'm okay.
But that's the White Lotus. I think that's the difference, right? I get on our friend Andrew Stecca a lot because he fought with me about how bad the last season of The Bear was. Like, he was like, no, it was great. I'm like, no, it wasn't. You think that because you just really like The Bear. It
wasn't.
It was a dreadful, dreadful season where nothing happened. And so I talk about it constantly, and a listener reached out to me and said, I'm surprised that you have that issue with The Bear, but you don't have the same issue with White Lotus and the number of episodes during a season where, like, nothing's really happening. And I said...
Can I tell you why, though? Because it's new characters. You've already seen nothing happen with those same characters.
Bingo. Bingo.
You know?
So. And you accept that as part of when you choose to watch The White Lotus, you know what you're getting into. You know that you're not going to find out what happened until the final episode of the show. Like, you understand... That's what it is. They're doing. You're signing up for a first episode where they show you who the people are, 8 episodes of interaction between the characters, and you trying to guess or decipher, and an S-ton of overacting. And it's the overacting that you love. It's what makes you love the show. You want the overacting. You want the Parker Posey accent. You want the Sam Rockwell monologue. You want to decide that you hate all of these people in the process. I still think they went too far with the incest stuff. I thought that was a miss. I really do. I
didn't think they went far enough. Like,
right, I know that's more.
This or not?
That's
like,
more
what's going on?
Thing, right? I still think that was a miss.
Is my semi from the boat trip, or is it from the? Oh, sorry. No. Anyway. But did you watch White Lotus on SNL?
I did on SNL. I didn't even think about it. Poor, I guess Amy Lee Wood got really upset about it. And, like, in hindsight, she's right. Like, she's right. They didn't need to do that. But, like, because otherwise it was a great sketch, right? Like, it was very funny. And the way
I think you had to do that. You had to have somebody because you're like it's unfair to her because she's being mocked and made fun of.
Right. Like
because she's got some choppers on her.
100%. But like the jokes for everybody else was about like these people that are running the country. Like they've earned that. You know what I mean? Like they've earned it. All she is.
Like if you had somebody doing Michael Strahan, you're going to do it with the teeth, right? You're going to have the big gap there.
Yes, I agree. But that's all the joke was. Like they didn't have more layers. It was just teeth, right? Like I get the point.
Yeah.
Which is like do something else. Be clever. I think I'm not. Look, I still enjoyed the sketch. I thought it was very good, and really well done. But she does have a point, which is like, hey, fine, like the teeth, I get it, but like maybe something else. Maybe
it's
anything.
Weird. I find her attractive now. And the teeth don't bother me.
I think I watched that show Sex Education on Netflix. I was an Amy Lee Wood fan before now.
Oh, I haven't seen that. So is that good?
It's weird, but it's like it's a very it's what's her face from X-Files. What's her name? Gillian Anderson. Gillian Anderson is in like an older version of Gillian Anderson, but she's like
David Duchovny. I should have said it when you said what's her face.
Yeah, I just screwed that up. Sorry. She's like a sex columnist or something like that.
Oh, okay. I did see previews for that.
It's
never got into
it's
it.
a good show. It's pleasant. It is. It's a good show. I enjoy. So I would.
Okay.
It's not high on the list.
I'm getting ready to watch The Last of Us. I didn't watch it last night.
I'm finally watching your show. Invincible's next for me. I had promised. I'd forgotten that I promised my buddy that I would go back and rewatch Freaks and Geeks because I hadn't done that in a long time.
I did that.
So I'm doing that right now, and then when I finish that, I'll watch Invincible.
It is the first time you watch Freaks and Geeks, you're kind of shocked at how much talent is in that show.
It's
and how many faces you recognize.
Unbelievable. By the way, I had completely forgotten that was Martin Starr. Like, utterly had forgotten about that. And by the way, he might be the best in the entire show. Like, also, I've forgotten that
he didn't look like Serpico in that one.
100%.
Or Robin Williams Knuckles. So. Yeah.
I also
when he had the beard in
in Silicon Valley. And,
Knocked Up.
Knocked Up. Thank you. I hate Linda Cardellini because she played a certain character. She played Lauren on Boy Meets World. And Lauren, as those may remember, attempted to break up Corey and Topanga. And because of that, Linda Cardellini to me is Satan. Like, truly is Satan. And I had forgotten that Linda Cardellini was like the star of all of the Seth Rogen, James Franco. The star of the show was Linda Cardellini, which is...
See, and that kind of upsets me, too, because, like, I loved her in Grandma's Boy, but she'll always be Velma.
Yeah, I'll never forgive her. I'll never forgive her. She knew Corey was vulnerable, and she tried to prey on him, and she was a stalker.
Yeah, but then that opens it up for Topanga for somebody else, right? Isn't that what you want?
I wanted her to. Jeremy, we could do this for 3 hours, pal. We could do this for a long time. JCon Sports on Twitter, ConcreteLocks.com with 2 N's. Love you, buddy. Let's talk next Monday.
Sounds good, man. I'll see you.
Thanks, pal. It's Jeremy Conn with us here every Monday on GCR. I don't know why. I think I'd watched Freaks and Geeks on, like, DVD once years ago, but, like, wasn't really paying attention. It was, like, one of those things that I put on when I was really just trying to, like, hook up with a girl, right? Like, you'd put something on in the background because you felt like you had to go through the motions of, like, yeah, why don't you come over? We'll watch this DVD.
DVD?
Yeah, right.
What is that?
Yeah, I know. There's a story that I have related to that I don't think it's for the air. But anyway, yeah, I think that's when I put on Freaks and Geeks. And so I never really actually watched Freaks and Geeks.
Jason Segel's in
It's everyone. It's everyone.
Seth Rogen's in it. Shia LaBeouf.
Everyone was in Freaks and Geeks.
James Franco, of course.
It was Judd Apatow. It was
okay.
Like, and it only had one season. And
this is like the Judd Apatow produced this.
Yeah, it was his.
So this is why he kept giving Jason
these were all his
Segel
people.
and
These
Seth
were all.
Rogen gave
Like,
them.
this was his first vehicle, and then it just sort of went from there. And I had never rewatched it, so a buddy of mine and I were talking a couple weeks ago. He's like, "Dude, you never actually sat down and watched Freaks and Geeks from start to finish?" I'm like, "No, I haven't." He's like, "Dude, you got to do it." I said, "You're right. I probably should." Like, I'm a Judd Apatow fan. I'm a fan of most of these people. I should do that. And I had forgotten entirely that the star of the show was Linda Cardellini, who famously played Lauren on Boy Meets World, and Lauren is the most evil human that ever existed. If Lauren was playing Duke in a basketball game, I would think about rooting for Duke. That's how I feel about this. Come back in, get a tidbit and two, but to wrap up the show. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we are winding down for a Monday edition of the program. Did anything else happen this weekend that we needed to cover? I don't think so. I think that we got all the important stuff. Now, obviously, we can move on to the really important things like WrestleMania next week.
Yes.
Get on to the big ones, the ones that people actually care about. So that's the good news there. All right, why don't we get a tidbit? Tidbit brought to you today by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Stan, Ross, and Luke back in action this afternoon, 5 o'clock. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, you can check it out, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson talking baseball with you today at 5.
The NBA season came to an end. I want to make sure this is the one I want to lead with. Yeah, I'll lead with that one. NBA season came to an end, so I guess I got 2 NBA ones kind of related. There were only a few players to play in all 82 games. The number this season, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players.
I mean, yeah, sure. We're not doing that.
We're
not doing that.
2 Wizards on the list.
Require me to know 2 Wizards.
Yeah. Well, one of them
Bub
definitely.
Carrington.
Hey, there you go. Bub Carrington, first Wizards rookie to appear in all 82 games in a season.
He had a game winner yesterday?
He had a game winner yesterday. So if we lose Cooper Flat because of that, I swear to God, Bub. But also his first Wizards.
Koulibaly.
Yeah, he was a rookie, but no, not him. The other one was Julian Champagne.
Who?
Champagne. Is it Champagne?
Who is that?
I don't know. I think he went to Illinois or something.
Well, that's where Champagne is.
Yeah. So is that what I'm confusing it with? Maybe he went to college somewhere.
Are you sure it's Julian? I see a Justin Champagne.
Yeah. There's a Justin. This one's Julian.
There's 2 different Champagnes on the same team.
Are they both only? Or I'm pretty sure it's Julian.
Julian Champagne plays for the Spurs, so I'm just gonna guess.
Oh, then
it's
I meant
not
Justin.
Julian.
Then I guess I meant
Champagne.
Justin.
Justin Champagne plays for the Wizards.
He
played collegiately at definitely not Illinois.
Utah.
Definitely not Utah.
Was it a Big Ten school? Indiana.
There's another active Wizards player that played at this school.
So this requires you. So Pitt.
Pitt.
Okay.
That is the
because
correct answer.
You only know one Wizard?
Lord knows.
Pitt.
I'm not going to be able to tell you.
First Wizards rookie Bub Carrington was to appear in all 82 since 1982. And then also at the game winner yesterday.
It's been a tough year for Bub with his father passing away, which really hurt everybody in the Baltimore basketball community. But I'll root for Bub.
Do you want to hear the others that played in 82 games? Chris Paul did somehow, which is crazy.
Why?
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. I guess felt obligated to. Jalen Green, Michael Bridges, Jared Allen, Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes played in all 82 games. Jaden McDaniels.
Including hitting the winner against the Warriors that I guess is the reason why they have to play in the play-in.
Nickel Alexander-Walker, Malik Beasley, who was our three-point guy from the Pistons the other week.
Nickel Alexander-Walker played for Buzz Williams, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, at Virginia Tech. Yeah. And then Buddy Hield also played in all 82. So there's the 11 guys.
How about that?
The season came to an end, and Victor Wembanyama got shut down about halfway through. He played in only 55% of the games this season, and still led the league in blocks. 176 blocks for Victor Wembanyama. Next closest was 148, so they were just 28 behind the most blocks this season. So he became the first player to lead the league in any of the 5 major statistical categories, like points, rebounds.
The double-double categories, yeah.
And play in less than 75% of a team's games, and he only played in 55%. Do you want to try to name the top 5 blockers in the NBA this season?
Not a chance in hell.
You can name any of the other ones?
Who are big men? Somehow also Jokic.
No, not Jokic. Yeah, he doesn't care about that anymore.
How about who else would have blocks? Who else is a big man?
We got a Milwaukee Buck. We got an Indiana Pacer. We got a Utah Jazz. We got a Utah musical
Milwaukee
note.
Buck. It's not Giannis.
No. And a Cleveland Cavalier. That's not Jared Allen, surprisingly.
What are you watching over there?
I think I'm gonna have to turn off Siri. She's telling me the score of the Timberwolves Jazz game, I guess, because I said Utah Jazz.
I don't think I'm gonna get.
I think I'm gonna have to turn off Siri. It's been doing that for some reason the last couple of days.
Is Brook Lopez still in
Brook
Milwaukee
Lopez
Buck?
is still in the league. He's number 2. So I guess we can end it on that one.
Didn't know he was still a Milwaukee Buck. I gotta be honest with you.
Second most blocks in the league this season. Miles Turner playing, is he?
All right. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
Walker Kessler was on.
This is the neat part about watching basketball now this time of year, where I'm like, wow, that guy's still in the league. How about that?
No, Robin Lopez is
like learning DeAndre Jordan was still in the NBA. It was wild to me.
Robin Lopez was a Buck last year, but that was last season. He did not play this year.
Okay,
Robin did not. The other block leaders, just since I mentioned them, Miles Turner, Walker Kessler, and Evan Mobley from the Cavaliers, also top 5. We got Kevin Van Valkenburg alluded to it. Sixth golfer to ever pick up a career Grand Slam. Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
Can you name the 5 others?
Well, Tiger, obviously. Yes. Jack, but not Arnold, correct?
I believe that is correct. Yes, that is correct.
What did Arnold never win?
What did Arnold not win?
So there's 3. There's 3 more.
Yeah.
I think I might get all. I think I might get all these because I saw this.
Palmer won the Masters, the U.S. Open, the British Open. He never won
the PGA. How about that? I mean, if there's one that you're not going to win, I guess that's probably the one. But still, the other 3 are Sarazen.
Yes.
Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now there's a lot of pressure on this.
It's like you're at the 18th hole here. You got to tap it in.
Gary Player.
Achieved the career Grand Slam along with, as you said, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and now Rory McIlroy. There you go.
Look at that. You doubt me. People say, you're not even a golf guy. Is that what you think? All right, let's get the tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, not a ton tonight. The WNBA draft tonight at 7:30 on ESPN. Cheyenne Sellers is expected to hear her name called early in that. By the way, congratulations. I don't know if you saw. She got engaged to Faith Masonius, former teammate at Maryland. So big week for Cheyenne Sellers as she gets ready for the draft tonight. I did see, I think ESPN's mock draft had her going to the Mystics. Which would be interesting.
Cool.
Would have her playing in Baltimore here in a couple weeks. But if you are willing to pay $5,000 for a ticket. Mass and Nationals Pirates 6:40, MLB Network Royals Yankees 7:05, NHL Network Stars Red Wings at 7, Kings Oilers at 10, USA for AFC Bournemouth and Fulham at 3, and Netflix for WWE Raw tonight at 8. And that's it sports wise. Non-sports.
Where's Raw tonight? Is it? Is the Raw before WrestleMania supposed to be good, or it's supposed to be?
It might be L.A. or somewhere.
Is the Raw before WrestleMania supposed to be good, or it's
no?
just kind of
It's
like
the one
most,
after
the most
WrestleMania. That's
lackluster?
the big Raw. Like this is normally everything's set. There's not a whole lot more to do at this point. Like you're just trying to get you to the weekend.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of non-sports wise. American Idol, I guess, if anyone's into that. If anybody's watching that,
are people into that?
Celtic City, or if anyone's into that, is on HBO.
It's gonna be not me.
Kathy Bates and Diego Luna will be on Jimmy Kimmel
promoting WrestleMania.
Really?
Yes.
Diego Luna and Kathy Bates.
Very excited about WrestleMania. They think it's John Cena. He's going to break the record.
Wow.
So they're doing the rounds to talk up WrestleMania.
I thought for sure Diego Luna was going to be talking about like Andor, which is coming out.
I mean, I could get why you would think that, but he just really likes WrestleMania.
All right, that's cool.
So that's what he's there to promote. And Kathy Bates, I think everybody knows Kathy Bates is
everybody knows
WrestleMania person.
Who's her favorite wrestler?
The Iron Sheik.
Okay.
You don't even know who that is. So.
I've heard like the name, yeah. But I mean, if he walked in, I'm not sure I'd know. But
he's probably not going to be doing that. Probably.
Why not?
He's no longer with them.
Just like
yeah.
Any comments with since your boy got fired by the Suns?
No comments whatsoever. I mean, it's like the most disappointing season in basketball. The most disappointing season since that loaded Nets team with Kevin Durant. Like either Kevin Durant.
How does this affect Kevin Durant's legacy?
In zero ways whatsoever. No.
Which is all right. So we'll come back to the Wizards next year.
No.
Wow, Kevin Durant, Cooper Flagg.
No,
Bo
I've
Carrington.
said before, like the play for Kevin Durant. The one thing that he could do that would make some sense is if Oklahoma City doesn't win the title this year, that he tries to do that. That he tries
like
to
the sixth man or
be whatever he could be with that team. And I guess that's why they wouldn't do it, is because they would say, does it mess up what we have going here? But the way that he has been crucified over the Warriors thing, the difference would be this is full circle for Kevin Durant, right? Like there's something poetic about him returning to Oklahoma City where he wasn't able to win a title to then try to lift them. So you can't, despite the fact that the Thunder are the best team in the NBA, you wouldn't be able to crucify him the same way over this move because it would be more personal and he could play that up.
I'll tell you what would definitely, cement his legacy is if he wins a championship with the Wizards next year.
Right, so like it's got to be something that you can do.
What's wrong?
Right, like it's got to be.
Well, they're in the NBA, so they've got like a 1 in 30 shot.
It's like saying that, like you could go to the Sacramento River Cats and win the World Series. It's like you can't do that.
You could get like promoted from the River Cats.
Right, no, but you can't win the World Series of the River Cats, and like that's the thing.
You could win the
you're not allowed, like they're not allowed to win an NBA championship with the Wizards. Like they don't.
Well, I think you're allowed to. No. It just hasn't been done.
No, well, it has actually.
Well, the Wizards.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. The Wizards haven't. The Bullets did once upon a time. Anything else? That's it.
No, that is it. There's nothing else.
Yeah, it's one of those nights, man.
Go outside, maybe.
I don't know why the NBA couldn't. Like, is Sunday so important they couldn't have done these games on Saturday so that we could?
What if they did like one of the, since everybody's got off Saturday? What if they did the thing where they really manipulate it and they're like, all right, these games matter. Let's push them to Monday night and like.
Well, I think the reality is like they want to be fair to they want to be fair to the teams playing in the play-in, that like nobody has a rest advantage going into the playing game. That's the real reason, but.
Is it playing tomorrow night or Wednesday?
Tomorrow night's Wednesday. Tomorrow night is the 7.
I guess it's fine. We're just picky because
I mean, it's if the Orioles were playing tonight, we wouldn't give a rat's ass.
Right.
It really is the fault of the Orioles. Thanks a lot. Thanks today. We had a great show today. Thanks to Rayuan Lane. Thanks to Kevin Van Valkenburg, to Ryan Ripken, to Jeremy Conn. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me High
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program.
Stuff and things.
Boy.
Stuff and things.
Should I be promoting the thing this weekend, John?
You can certainly mention it, yes. She hasn't sent me specifics.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead and tell me.
Come watch WrestleMania with me this weekend.
Oh. Yeah. Nice.
Inside Sports and Social, live casino and hotel, 100-foot media wall. We'll be doing, they've got drinks and they've got food and they've got all sorts of giveaways. We'll tell you more about that in the coming days and what the specials are. Yes, when we're informed more about them. But right now what you know is me. You got me. And I'll be doing, of course, trivia between matches for those giveaways. So great place to watch every event. But this one a little bit different. We're watching WrestleMania.
Nice.
Both Saturday and Sunday night.
Wow.
Inside Sports and Social, live casino and hotel. Come hang out with us. this weekend. All right, very good.
So what's your best bet for WrestleMania then?
You can't bet on WrestleMania. Can't do that.
Oh, okay.
There's places where you can, but this is not one of them. So we're not talking about that, Griffin. That's one of those things that we leave alone. All right, very good. Now, Patrick will join us tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll talk to him.
Towson
and,
another win, baby.
What's that?
Towson another win.
They did. Loyola got their second win of the year
Ayo.
this weekend. They're still alive in the hunt for the Patriot League tournament. Hopkins, how about Maryland bouncing back from the Rutgers loss and beating Ohio State? A lot of parity. I said I think that's good that we don't know who's going to win the national championship at this point. But our friend Brian Powell, big Hopkins fan, not a fan of parity. Doesn't like it.
He wants Syracuse
Doesn't
to
like
win.
that there are more teams that are threats.
Notre Dame to win? What does
Not
he
great.
want?
No, he wants the Blue Bloods because he likes Hopkins. He wants that to be the case. Not a fan. All right, thanks to everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, where we'll be this weekend for WrestleMania, as well as Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, the Brigance Brigade, Baltimore's Classic 5 Golf Courses, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Cheyenne Sellers.
Yeah.
Duke sucks.